noticed about fishing, it never works out so well for the bait.
Come on, you could say it's okay, they know.
Metal is stronger than glass.
Tell them I'm going fishing.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to the Aluminum Fishing Series podcast, Season 2. We are live in person this season. We're also going to be streaming this on Spotify as well, so check that out. I am your host, as always, Chris Martin. I'm the president of the Aluminum Fishing Series. And on today's show, we're going to be getting into it. We're going to take it's almost a State of the Union type deal with the sport of bass fishing, because it is absolutely insane what's going on in the sport right now. And I don't know if I like it. And I wanted to bring a friend in that is in tune with fishing. He's got a great brand behind him. Great fisherman, great smallmouth guy. He is the president of Real Northern Bass, Mr. Sean Snoove. He's an angler, brand owner, podcaster. He is not a tin rig runner, but
No.
we're gonna give him a pass tonight, okay? Because I think that we can have some really good conversation about the status of bass fishing today, after everything that's happened over the last year. It is absolutely incredible what's going on in the sport. I want to get your opinion on it. I think we can get really into depth with what's going on, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And you've been doing a lot of out-of-state fishing lately, too.
Yeah, a little bit. Had an opportunity with some business travel that put me out on Lake Ontario, so I figured, what the hell? While I'm out here, let's do some fishing. And I was over near the Niagara, so I got to hit Lake Erie and Ontario and the St. Lawrence River all in 4 days, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, how many fish in 4 days?
Estimate. Oh, dude. It actually wasn't bad, but it wasn't that great. Somewhere between 80 and 100 in 4 days. So, I mean, good, but not like phenomenal.
Exhausting, probably.
Yeah, I mean, the business travel portion of it had me on the road at 4 a.m. on Friday, and I had 3 straight days of working between 14 and 16 hours.
Yeah.
Mind you, I mean, it was fun work, but nonetheless, it was very long days, very early mornings, and then just rolled right into fishing, which it just didn't slow down. By the time I got home, I slept better than I usually do when I'm sick, so
Very nice.
I made the most of every moment I had.
I love that, and it paid off. We got a big PB we got to talk
Just
about.
Just a smidge. Yeah.
I mean, a couple actually, but one in particular.
I went back and looked, and I mean, not sequentially, but I essentially broke my previous PB, which I just set back in December of 23. I broke that 10 times in 4 days, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's not like it was a small PB to break either.
We'll talk about how big was that smallie.
7 pounds, 5 ounces. Which is just dumb. And I had another one that was 7 pounds, 2 ounces 2 days after that. I had a couple of 6s. We lost count of the number of 5s. It was just a good time.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it was a combination of timing and the waters?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I screwed up, and I typically travel with a 10 terabyte external hard drive when I go on fishing vacations because I run 5 GoPros. Mm-hmm. And I'll dumb everything down like a little bit. I'll do 2.7K resolution at 60 frames. So I can make the file size a little bit more manageable, because it still takes, if I go out and fish for 10 hours, it'll take me 45 minutes to dump one card. That's 5 cards. So it takes a while. And on the way up, I'm usually fishing early to late. I gotta stay up that much later to dump it all. And I grabbed the wrong one. I had another really old one that's identical to the 10 terabyte, but it was 1 terabyte. So I had to gamble. I could record 2 days. And I ended up, the only day I did record, I didn't catch either one of those 7s. Still caught 6, 7, I think, but I didn't catch either of the 7s on video. But it's all right. I got them on my phone, so it still counted. But because I didn't record, I'm convinced is one big reason why I caught that fish. Because I drove from Buffalo, New York, over to Cape Vincent in New York. Yeah, I had to think about that, because he's my buddy who I went up with there lives right on the line of Cape Vincent and Clayton. But it was Cape Vincent, went to the ramp. Like, I drove one stop all the way up there, 4 hours, pulled in. He was already ready. And I told him, I was like, as soon as I get there, we're leaving. I grabbed all my rods, my tackle, threw them in, and then just jumped in the boat and we left. And I was like, do I grab the GoPros? It's going to rain. You know what? Screw it. And we were like really quick in the parking lot, got on the water fast. And then the first spot we pulled up to was like 2 minutes from the ramp. So if I had taken any time whatsoever to set up any of those GoPros, I don't think I would have caught that fish. Because as soon as we pulled up the spot, he turned the motor off. I stood up and I fired up my cast before he even got the trolling motor down. And 10 seconds later, I caught that 7.5. That was just, it was a good combination of my buddy going out there a couple days before, because he's got to camp up there on the St. Lawrence, right at the mouth of the river, do some scouting, already had a good idea as to where they would be, and just having a good idea as to what I should be throwing up there anyway, and just Beast Coast open water sniper, MB green pumpkin, with a black little general, little turd on the back of it, little goby-sized bait. That's all it was.
Listen, not every fish needs to be on camera, right? I mean, you've got that memory. Some things you don't need to share with the world. You know what I mean? You got that memory for yourself, and that's all there is to it. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's funny because Andrew and I have been really fortunate that all of our PBs up to this recent one was on video. And so it's awesome because, like, I think back to my PB largie. It took me, it's still the only 7-pound largie I've got. And oddly enough, it's the exact same weight as my PB smallie now, 7 pounds, 5 ounces.
That's awesome.
And every once in a while, I'll really think about it. And I'm fortunate I go back and look at it. And Andrew can do the same thing with his 7.7.
Yeah.
And he can go back and look at every single, the last 10 PB smallies he's caught just all have to be on camera. So it's cool that we can go back and revisit those whenever we want. And now these two, I'm glad I at least got some pictures. I got it on my phone, but I don't get to relive the whole thing.
Do you feel like, and I think I know the answer if I was in your position, but do you feel like you missed a viral video opportunity?
Maybe, because if I'm just going by how the short went from my phone, which, let's face it wasn't like anything special. I already had the fish out of the water, and I already weighed and everything, and it was a quick 40-second clip with my phone, and those did exceptional. And I'm not really huge on doing a ton of shorts or reels or TikToks or anything. I like doing the longer form content, and any of those short forms I do after I've made a whole video, and then I'll circle back and I'm like, that was a good catch. That was a good catch. That was a good catch. Mm-hmm. And then every once in a while we get something like this. So I think that video probably would have done really well for itself with, like a really good thumbnail, which thankfully my buddy does for me, and he's really good at it. So I'm not saying it probably would have gotten like 100,000 views or anything, but it probably would have gotten a couple thousand, which is better than my average.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any plans? Obviously you weighed it, but did you get the girth and did you get the length and all that stuff? Any plans to do anything?
No, you know what?
All related with it?
So funny you bring that up, because maybe 2 minutes after I released it, I looked at my buddy. I was like, all my life, I've been saying if I get a 7-pound smallmouth, I want a replica. Mm-hmm. And I didn't take a single measurement off it. I got it in the boat. We both lost our shit for like 30 seconds. Yeah. Not even. Like maybe 10 seconds. And my buddy already grabbed the scale. We got on the scale, took 3 or 4 pictures, and then he quick recorded video. So that fish was out of the water for barely over a minute. Mm-hmm. Like it was just quick bang, bang, and then I got her back in the water, because that's all I could think about and care about was just get that beautiful specimen back in the water. Mm-hmm. And it was like a couple minutes after, I was like, dude, I didn't take a single measurement off that. Yeah. Now, not an issue, because I showed it off pretty well on my phone. Sure. And thankfully for my engineering background, there is actually a tool out there that you basically take any screenshot, a picture, or whatever, and you can, if you know the actual length of something in that picture, you can set the scale to that. And then basically it just measures off all the pixels, and you can just measure everything else from there. Yeah. So I just need 2 good screenshots, and you can see my hand clear as day, so I can just measure one of my knuckles to get an accurate scale, and it's going to be within like 98% accuracy. Yeah. So I do want to get a replica made, but from my research so far, the only replicas you can get are like, fixed. It's like one fish. Like if you want an 18 or a 20 or a 22, like whatever that fish was that they used to make the replica, that's what you get.
Yeah. They get the skins. They got to find the skins that match the length.
Yeah. So I'm hearing. I know I can get a guy to paint it and make it look right and everything, but this fish was so gross in its build, and beautifully gross, that if I can't get this thing made to the exact size and dimensions that it was, it's not worth it. It'd be a complete injustice to that fish's build, because it was a friggin' football. Yeah. It wasn't long. It was only like 22 inches long, but it was a football.
Yeah, it looked it. Yeah. We share a similar story, because I I actually caught my PB Smallie in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
It was a few weeks after you, actually. Mine was 604, I believe. 603,
Ounces?
604 pounds.
Like,
not ounces. No, 0.04, 6.04.
Okay.
Just over 6.
Yep.
But like you, I said, anytime I set 6 in New Hampshire is an 8 out there, right? I would
dude,
imagine.
it's hard. I would say a 6 in New Hampshire is like a 7.5 out there.
Yeah. So, unicorn, obviously. And I said, anytime I get a largemouth over 7 or a smallie over 6, that's got to go in the lake house.
Yep.
And now I'm doing, probably what you did was research different people. I mean, the replica and taxidermy business must be pretty damn good because everyone I'm talking to is about a year out.
Oh, yeah.
8 months out, and the cost is $40 to $60 an inch.
Yep.
And this bass was 21 inches. I carry tailor tape in my boat for just such an occasion. So I was able to at least get a girth measurement. It was on the golden rule. Got a few pictures. But yeah, it's wild. I think a 21-inch skin for the guy that I was talking to, he said it was doable because he was just doing one for another customer. I forget where, but so I'm still thinking about maybe pulling the trigger. It's a lot of money for just a replica, but
yeah, but that's a special fish. Like if it was a 6 out in the St. Lawrence, like any of the Great Lakes, no, I wouldn't do it.
No.
And that's what I always said. That someone's like, "Oh, dude, if you want a 6, just go up there." I'm like, I'm not going to get a replica if I get a 6 out there because they're not quite a dime a dozen, but pretty damn close. But a 7 out there, that's a different story. Not everybody go up there and catch a 7. Correct. And I'm extremely lucky that I not only did it once, but twice. But a New Hampshire 6, oh, dude, even if it was 6.00, I would 100% get a replica of that because that is hard. Even getting like into the 5s in New Hampshire is hard. I've done it once.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've done 5s yet. I went right to a 6.
Dude, that's what I did with my smallie. So on Tuesday of the 4 days I was on vacation, I just got done my work trip. I had to do an after trip report. I was exhausted. I didn't do it Monday at the end of like my last work day. And we kept pushing it. I was like, I want to be off the water at like 4. Because all said and done, I knew from the moment we said, okay, let's go, till I got back to my hotel, it was going to be like an hour. Help the guy load up his boat, wrap up all your tackle, all that crap. And I was like, let's say 4. Then we got closer to 4, and I didn't even have one over 5 yet. I'm like, okay, let's push it to 5, push it to 6. And finally looked at it was like maybe 6:30. I'm like, dude, as much fun as this is, because all of a sudden we started getting into them, it's like, we have to stop at 7. And it was good because I was up till midnight doing this after work trip report anyway, and I was beat. Yeah. But 6:46, I caught a 5.76. And I was like, okay, sweet, new PB. But it was like so anticlimactic because I was so tired. Yeah. And I got on the boat. I knew it was a big fish. Put on the scale. I'm like, oh, cool, new PB. And it was just like, okay, whatever. Yeah. And then I looked at him and I chuckled. I was like, all I wanted was a 6. And I'm happy I got the PB, but I had my mind so focused on a 6+. And then the next day, try to go back out there with another buddy. We get blown off, and I run up there, and first friggin' fish is at 7-pound 5-ounce. I completely blew right past 6. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, this is cool. But I'm joking around. I was like, I still don't have a 6. What the hell?
I know, yeah.
It didn't happen until the end of the day, Thursday. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's good times. What? I was just going to ask you a question. So, all right. So let's get into the reason why I want to have this conversation a little bit. So let's again, we've got our own brands going on.
Yeah.
I feel like you're in tune with the fishing aspect. I'm kind of in tune with the news world. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Because I'm listening to podcasts all the time. I'm kind of keeping up to date with high level MLF and bass kind of trails and drama and info and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I said, before we start recording, I'm probably going to get heated at this conversation because the sport of bass fishing today is in shambles. And I hate it. I do not like it at all. There's a lot of shit going down with every direction that you turn. Okay? And I want to kind of get into a little bit of it, get your opinion on it, have a nice general discussion about it. The ultimate question that I would like answered, I want people to answer hypothetically today is, do you really want to be a professional sports angler, a professional fisherman today? today's world. Do you want to do that? Do you want to be an elite angler? Do you,
You
want to
actually
be a
asking me
BPT
right now, or
tour
you-
angler? Hypothetical. I'm not asking it yet.
All right.
That's ultimately at the end of the conversation. I want your opinion on that question. All right, because I think a lot of people have this idea about what it's like to be an elite, to be a pro, to have that recognition, I guess you could say, right, and career. Yep. But whatever's happening right now within the last year or two in the sports world, in the fishing world, is making a lot of people rethink it, myself included. All right, and if I was to answer it now, I'd say I don't want to do it. And I'm probably sticking with that throughout this whole conversation. But I digress. I want to hear your opinion after we kind of dive into some things, okay?
I'm ready.
A lot of this... So we're going to get into Jacob Foutz. I don't know if you saw his viral video.
I did not.
That was something that kind of kickstarted a lot of stuff, a lot of negativity. We'll get into forward-facing sonar. All right. I want to get into the MLF, James Watson stuff, all the changes that MLF's going through. I want to get into the money aspect of things. And I want to get into the rookies on the elites, all that drama. Okay.
All right.
So we'll start real quick with the Jacob Foutz stuff. Now his viral video, and he really didn't have much of a brand before this viral video. But he went on YouTube and just started complaining. All right, he was complaining about the money, about the lack of recognition, how the same guys always get the airtime, how he doesn't get the sponsor dollars that other guys have. He's saying it's an influencer sport now and not a professional sport. You have to have the followers to do anything good because you know the sponsor dollars aren't there anymore, right?
Yep.
And he got blasted. He's like, "Oh, you're just complaining because you don't have any sponsors. You don't have the social media draw. You're not adapting with the industry."
Which is a very valid point.
It is valid. I agree. It's an evolving sport. But he got raked through the coals.
Like everything else.
Correct. But he got raked through the coals on it. You know, a couple sponsors canned him. You know, a lot of people supported him as well. There's two sides to the coin, right? You're going to have the guys that are going to say, "Oh, he's just complaining because he's not doing well, and everybody else is, you know, getting the recognition. He's just a complainer. He's not putting in the work." Blah blah.
Yep.
The other side of the coin is saying, "You know what? You're right. Something's going on. You know, there's a lot more to the sport than just going out and catching fish."
Oh yeah.
So, what's your opinion on that? On just that kind of overview?
I mean, I agree with the people that kind of blasted him. Not that I'm, at this point in my life, not a fan of just getting all over everybody. But they've got a valid point. And with the evolution of everything, like, change is inevitable. And if you are not comfortable with change, you're going to get left behind real fast. Because this whole everything in this world is just constant evolution and change. And I'm all for tradition in some areas when it, you know, makes sense, but that's for me personally. I can't ask the rest of the world to stick around by tradition when everybody else wants to keep moving forward and pushing the envelope in every single step of the way. And it doesn't matter what it is. Like, things have to evolve, and people are always going to look at things in a way of, well, how can I make more out of what I'm doing? How can I get the most out of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish? And that goes two ways, both as just being an angler or being the owner of a company, you know, like, and let's disregard like publicly traded corporations because that's just a joke in and of itself. Mm-hmm. But, you know, even a small private company, you know, what we're doing right now, it's like, it's a constant question myself. Like, what can I do to help myself grow and evolve and get better at what I do? It doesn't matter what level you're at. Like, that conversation happens everywhere about everything all the time. And like, to his point, like, it's not enough now just to be a good angler. I also have to do all this social media stuff, and, you know, it's not fair. Well, I think back to my younger days when I was huge into freestyle BMX, and I never really got really good at it, but I wasn't terrible at it. And I had a friend that was ridiculously good, and he was just way ahead of everybody else around us. And it was wild for me to see, like, when we started, we couldn't even come close to what the pros were doing. So we never even had an outside chance of being professionals. And especially my buddy. He was, again, way better than the rest of us. And then I remember seeing his progression, and yet as quickly as he progressed, he got to a point, let's say like 5 years after we started, that if you took his skill set at that year 5 point, he was as good as all the pros that we were following and loving everything they were doing 5 years prior to that point. But that bar had moved. So, I mean, he was as good, if not better, than a lot of the full-time professionals 5 years ago. But now it's now. And the tricks that you were doing 5 years ago aren't enough to get you on the cover of a magazine anymore, and you have to keep continuously pushing that bar. Dude, now you look at some of the things that people do in BMX, and it's like, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And, you know, again, 20 years ago, if you could do a double backflip and double tail whips, like you were the cream of the crop. And now it's not as simple as that. And you can't just go out there and win tournaments. You had to go out and get sponsor or featured inside of magazines and everything. You know, like that was that next evolution of everything. You had to be out there making videos and stuff. Fishing's no different. It doesn't matter what it is. If there's money to be spent, people are always going to look at it to see how else can I get the maximum out of this. And if I've got 20 anglers and 10 of them are just hammers at fishing, but then they do nothing else, and I've got 10 other guys that are pretty good, if not better, or maybe a little worse, it's kind of a mixed bag, but my God, they're wicked good at promoting what we're doing, then yeah, I'm going to take the guy that can offer me more value.
Okay. So what about, so I guess before the Jacob Foutz thing, and maybe there was other videos too, but in my opinion, you know, he brought that awareness. I don't know if it was first, but he brought the awareness. It went viral. But before that, there was a perception that professional bass anglers, that it's a prolific career. That they're, you know, those guys are, you know, living well, making money, you know, all this stuff. And now that would just beat to shit. So now, you know, he mentioned it's not about catching fish anymore. I agree with that part.
Yeah.
You do not have to catch fish to make money in the professional bass fishing industry anymore. It helps because you do well in tournaments. You're going to get the media. You're going to get the television, I don't know, spots, I guess you could say, for potential viral videos. You can use that on your own, you know, social stuff like that. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that right now the fishing industry, being a pro, is not about catching fish?
I disagree to an extent because there are some guys that are benefiting from doing really well in tournaments, say 10 to 20 years ago, that are barely hanging on by points at this point, but their social media is phenomenal, and that's why they're still hanging in there. Then I'm pretty sure there's a couple of younger guys that have come and gone in the last, we'll say, 5 to 10 years that really weren't great anglers, but they were phenomenal at social media, but they just weren't getting in the spotlight enough from their tournament results to make the most out of everything else they were doing. And there's truth to both sides of that coin. And I feel like Jacob may have spent a little bit too much time focusing on outliers. But
okay,
I didn't see the video. I'm just kind of going off of what you said. And just from what I've seen. And that I think there's enough evidence to support both sides of that argument. But I don't think it's the standard across the board. Then, but, you know, then you have exceptions. Like you have some of these legends exceptions. Like, I mean, geez, I love the guy, but Rick Clunn, you know, he's had 1-2 really good tournaments in the last 3 years. If he didn't have his legends exemption, the guy would have been kicked off the tour years ago because he's always been like the bottom 10 of points every year. True. And he doesn't really do much for social media now. He was a phenomenal angler for a long time, and that carries a lot of weight. God, what was he? I forget how many Angler of the Year titles he won. 4, 5?
Well, I also think that he was around so long ago where the sponsorship dollars were abundant. Because there was no social media. So that was the only way that he was making, you know, he'd make a ton of money on the sponsorship end of it. I don't know if it's a ton, but, you know,
enough.
You make the money
certainly
enough.
Back then to get by and then some. And the fact that he's been around in this friggin' industry for so long that he was part of that explosive growth that we have seen over the last 50 years. I mean, this is literally his 50th year as a professional tournament angler. So he's been in the ground floor of helping a lot of companies come up and stick around. He's just a staple in the industry. And that's because of all of his history that he did prior to that. It's helping keep him in there. I don't know, man. I absolutely understand both sides of this coin. And I hesitate to say that he's right he's flat out right or he's flat out wrong on this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, he's got good points, and personally, it kickstarted his brand.
What?
The negativity kickstarted his brand. I mean, now he's not killing it, with like some other guys, but his YouTube's up there a little bit, kind of in the average of all the elites.
Yep.
Like I went through every elite angler today and looked at their Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And I'll get into some of that in a bit because I got some questions for you about it.
All right.
So we can dive into that later. But yeah, I mean, he is right. It's not about fishing anymore, and that's kind of what pisses me off a little bit. Take some of these guys with the bigger brands, right, that aren't doing well on the elites, or maybe even are doing well. Take away the elites. They still have their brand. They're still going to do very, very well just going out and catching fish and entertaining and educating their huge following.
I can see a couple of guys that absolutely applies to. Like 2 names right off the top, and I take nothing away from them because they're still damn good anglers, Polnick and G-Man. But it's their tournament results have been phenomenal enough that alone warrants their success. But the way they carry themselves and communicate and I guess just share what they do too is just top notch. They don't need the tournament results anymore. Those guys are really good at what they do because, man, their communication, the way that they can communicate is just in a league of themselves.
Well, they're entertaining.
They're entertaining and informative.
What I mean?
Like, it's hard to be both.
Correct. Like Polnick's YouTube, like when they follow him around, his content's phenomenal.
Oh, dude, there's nobody better.
I think it rivals Scott Martin. Scott Martin's phenomenal stuff too, but he's got the backing to do whatever the hell he wants. He's got cameras everywhere, camera guys. He's got a whole business behind him that he can do because he's made that following. He's got the money. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, pretty much.
But G-Man entertaining is all hell, right? So it's also putting emphasis on how you have to be to have a brand, right?
Yeah.
Jacob Foutz, I'm sorry, I don't know him. I've heard him talk. He's a wet noodle. All right? Like he's not, I don't see him ever promoting any product on Facebook. I mean, he doesn't do it a lot. But he doesn't, I don't think he has the personality like to be an extrovert.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's not getting sponsor dollars. Nobody wants to partner with him to say, you know what, this guy, he really is enthusiastic about it. He's not. He's not. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is not enthusiastic. I could fall asleep to his voice. He's doing really, really well in the elites right now, though.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he's got a bee under his bonnet. But I believe that's because that viral video put him into another area where people were like, "Ooh, okay, he's got that viral sensation going on right now. Strike while the iron's hot."
Yep.
So now he's got much more sponsorship dollars behind him to let him fish a lot more comfortable, with a lot more confidence, without worrying about whether he's going to get a check or not, because he's already, I think, in the positive or close. He's not losing money like he used to be, last year, I guess.
Right. I mean, yeah, dude, he's in 7th place for Angler of the Year standings right now, so he must be doing pretty damn good overall.
Correct. But, I think he's one of these guys that in the past has really, focused on and what's the word I'm looking for? He relied on tournament winnings to live.
Right.
And he wasn't doing anything else. He wasn't branching out and getting other, octopus arms on other sides of the business to see if he can get different revenue streams.
Yep.
And that's the evolving part of it that you were talking about. I mean, fishing evolved. It is an influencer sport now. I hate to say it. It is, and every elite angler needs to be an influencer. You need to work on how to be an influencer. That's how we grow. That's how we grow the sport.
Yep, I agree. I mean, it's just such a massive part of what everybody is so accustomed to now, whether other people like it or not, and what kind of influencer you are too. Man, like that can vary greatly. There's some people that they don't have to do these crazy, detailed, elaborate, high production value videos like Polnick does. Like Swindle doesn't do that. Swindle is just Swindle. You know, his personality speaks for himself. He's just a
Right.
genuinely good dude, and he's damn funny when he gets to, you know, kind of speak off the cuff a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that works for him. Then you get guys like Van Damme, where he's like an engineer in the way he approaches things.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so detail oriented, but, you know, to a level and number of layers that exceeds so everybody else. So just listening to him talk about anything from a technical perspective, like that right there is all that guy's got to do. Like everybody's kind of got their own thing that can play really well to themselves. And then the other guys that they're good at a lot of things, but they don't excel, or they don't have any one aspect about themselves that's so uniquely good and better than everybody else that they kind of got to do a little bit of everything to help themselves out.
Yeah, I agree. And KVD, I mean, I think his brand exploded, obviously, with all the classic championships and tournament victories. He hasn't done much in the way of tournament victories lately, except for that heavy hitters one, a little bit ago this year.
Yeah, but even
which
still,
which was awesome, by the way. I mean, you got to love that storybook ending. I loved every minute of it because that guy's awesome. Like,
I literally know nothing about it. I am so wrapped up in my own job.
And hey, listen, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. You ready?
I'm out of the loop.
So
All I can tell you about right now is I kind of know what Polnick's doing because he's the only pro angler that I follow like to the T, and Tim Doobie because he's a buddy, and I'm like just beyond happy for him to see how he's doing and following his journey on this. Those are the only two dudes I know anything about in the professional world at this moment.
All right, so KVD, heavy hitters MLS. You know what that is?
No, I don't.
All right, listen to this. I love this, and I actually implemented it in my trail too. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So there are. I'm gonna mess it up, but however many Bass Pro Tour events there are, stages throughout the year, it's the biggest fish you catch at the event, accumulated.
Oh, okay.
So, and then the top 30 get invited to the heavy hitters.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
Yes, it's awesome. And at that event, the winner gets $100 grand, and the biggest bass of the event gets $100 grand.
Holy crap! So you could actually double up.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I think Alton Jones Jr. has done phenomenal at this event in the past. But this year, Jordan Lee ended up winning it.
Yep.
Right? In mats. And there was friggin' obviously there was controversy in that friggin' win too. Always. And it pisses me off. But then, I'm watching social media and I follow Keith Poche.
Yep.
And because he's a tin rig guy, obviously. But Gator Tracks, shout out. Hook me up. So there's a video of him catching a 612 or 615, and he's going nuts. Thinks he's got the $100,000 fish. I think there were about 10 minutes left, and KVD hogs in a friggin' 712.
Oof!
And he ends up winning $100,000 in his last event, the biggest fish of the event.
Damn.
Storybook, close it.
Yep.
Done. And it's a cool ending. I'm getting chills thinking about it. You got to love that for KVD.
Oh, yeah, dude, absolutely.
And everything that he's done for the sport. You love seeing him go out on top. Because he really hasn't done much in the way of tournament winnings in the last handful of years. So it was just awesome to see him do that.
Yep. Did I tell you I met him at ICAST last year?
No.
Walking out of a steakhouse with my customer. It's like everybody on my work team, and then our customers were down there to meet. It was great, great meeting up with them and bring them up to speed on the project. Everybody was happy. Went out to seriously, I've been to a handful of top tier steakhouses in my travels, and Boston has got some world class ones.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, nothing touches this place. It's unbelievable. So we're walking out, and I was one of the first ones to the door, so I always hold the door for everybody, especially when we're in a big group. So hold the door. Watch the last of our party leave, and I kind of saw in my peripheral two people coming out behind them, but 15 feet back. So I just held the door. I just stood there and waited. I didn't mind. Everybody was kind of milling around the front door anyway. And I hear them quickly approaching, and I turn, and I was like, holy shit, that's Kevin Van Dam. So holding over for them. He walks out. He's like, thank you. I'm like, no, thank you. He looks back. I'm like, I need to shake your hand. I was like, I'm not going to take up any of your time. I just want to shake your hand and say it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. And I was absolutely fangirling over that moment.
Yeah. How tall is he?
Shorter than me.
Really?
Yeah. I'm 6'2". There's not that many people that are taller than me.
That's
But
true.
I think I had him by an inch.
Oh, man. So, all right, let me ask you a question. What's he known for?
What's he's known for?
Yeah.
Oh, God, tournaments. Like, absolutely. Like,
What
being the most consistent angler in the history of the sport. One of, if not the.
With
I mean,
what?
7-time Angler of the Year, 4-time Bassmaster Classic winner, and he did it mostly through power fishing. Like, those are the three, like, if you had to pick two things that he's most well known for, his tournament success and his ability to power fish his way to wins.
What technique?
Jerkbait and cranking.
Yes, exactly. Jerkbaiting.
Yep.
And I feel like he built a lot of his brand around the jerkbaiting aspect of it. He's got he's got product on it. He's developed a bunch of jerkbait products. He concentrated on that. And I feel like that was a hugely influential brand decision for him, which kept him relevant, kept him growing the sport, because now he was showing people how to do that, right?
Yep.
So, that's kind of his legacy, and when you think of him, you're going to think, okay, phenomenal fisherman, top of the class, jerkbait.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But anyways, so yeah, good luck in retirement, KBD.
Yeah, seriously. I'm curious if he'll come back to Bass after a couple of years.
I'm sure he will. Or he'll get like an office job, like a management job in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how when old NHL guys, go away, they get office jobs.
I'd like to see him. I don't want to see him behind the scenes. Unless he like really cares about trying to improve the scene for the pro anglers, then yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like who better than to speak to it than him?
Yeah.
For how long he's been in it and being so successful and having all those, outside of tournament dollars coming his way, where it made it easier for him. Not to say it was easy, but definitely easier. Mm-hmm. And to be able to fight that good fight using the power of his name and brand. But I'd like to see him up on the stage with Zona, just shooting shit, talking about every event, like to be able to hear it from his perspective all the time. Hell yeah.
I agree. He'd be a phenomenal commentator for the sport.
Yep.
100%. Because he's got a great voice for it.
Mm-hmm.
He's very media trained, but he's also entertaining. He's an entertaining guy to listen to. Whenever he's saying something, it's very cool, calm, collected, and incredibly educational and knowledgeable.
Yes.
So I think that's exactly.
This portion of the podcast is sponsored by Ben's Tackle Shack, the largest family-owned tournament tackle supplier in the Northeast. If you want to be the best, you need the best. So use Ben's Tackle Shack as your trusted source for the highest quality fishing gear. With brands that include Shimano, Daiwa, Yamamoto, Lowe's, Kitech, Strike King, Berkeley, and Zoom, you'll find everything you need at Ben's. So gear up and go fishing. Visit benstackleshack.com for more information.
Where he should be. But we'll see. We'll see where that takes him. All right, let's pivot a little bit because I do have a lot to go over and we're already like 40 minutes in. All right.
Shoot.
Next. Let's go over let's stick on the MLF part of things. Okay. Let me ask you this first question. Did the so all right, I'll stay high level. Did MLF hurt the industry or help the industry?
Initially, I actually think that they helped because that format, before they broke out and started doing their own true trail, where they took, where they extended the offer to a bunch of the bass anglers and created like their own true standalone trail. Before that, I thought it was helpful because it was cool to see a handful of events out of the blue that really felt like something special, not just unique, but special, to showcase all the names that we know, just in a completely different venue. And like, I think back to one of the events they did like early on, maybe in the second season they were doing this, and I think they were up on China Lake in Maine, and Aaron Martins was one of the anglers there, and I can't remember who the hosts were that were speaking during the whole event, but they were like, man, it's kind of crazy that Martins, who's like excels at smallmouth, hasn't gone off the bank to go look for smallies. And, they keep cutting to him. He's talking about what he's doing. And it was just knowing that they're going for a cumulative weight versus best five. And then to see him, he's like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Why don't I just go out here and do this? Because at this point, I just need to start making up ground. He goes out and he just Granted, they're a bunch of 1 and 2 pounders, but to see a guy that has already had that level of success in the 5-fish format go out there and do something entirely different, and to see how his brain was working to go at it from a different perspective. And the guy caught like 50, like 1.5 to 2 pounders, and he ended up winning that round. Yeah. And at that point, I thought it was helpful because of things like that. They were taking names that we have already known and were well established within the industry and putting them in a unique situation in these special events, these one-off kind of deals. And it was like, this is cool. It's expanding what we're doing. And then I felt like they heard it when they went and they took a ton of people away from bass. And I say, again, that's not appropriate. They offered it. A bunch of people left, and for damn good reason. I get it, because things at bass were not great, and they were doing what they felt was right to kind of initiate change to help other anglers. But, man, the way it was handled and everything I've heard about Mr. Duckett, not just recently. I mean, this is going on for years. Mm-hmm. Guy's just a colossal prick. So, it just at that point, that's when it really started to hurt, where they tried making it personal, and they tried the camaraderie went out the door, and they were just trying to make it this us versus them thing. And
I think they were trying to make a point to bass to say, we're going somewhere where there's no entry fees. That was the initial draw.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, hey, we don't have this huge expense of entry fees, and they're still paying us back. And we're going to get more TV time for our sponsors. It's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Right? In my opinion, they started, obviously, MLF started as many fish as you can catch. Right? Yep. Even though it's, weight release, I still think you've got 80 to 100 anglers on a body of water catching 40 to 50 fish each. Every single pound counts. Will hurt a fishery eventually.
Yeah.
The bass side of things, 5 fish limits, you're not going out and catching 40, 50 fish a day. You're looking for those big bites. Guys will probably only catch 10 to 12, a lot smaller numbers, right? So now you're not killing a fishery, so to speak. That's my opinion on it.
Yep.
But, again, there needed to be something to spark change, like you said, and MLF did that initially.
Yes.
With controversy, obviously.
Yep.
We didn't know how it was going to shake up. But, again, that big draw was no entry fees, still paying back, and my sponsors get a lot more, TV visibility. Like, hell yeah, let's freaking go do this. Little do you... Uh-oh.
Now you're back.
Oh, man. We good?
I dropped. Yeah, you dropped off hard for a second there.
Yep. So did you. Yeah. I got a little warning, but was good. I mean, we're still rolling.
Yep.
So, again, now here we are a few years later. I feel like MLF changes rules and changes things every single year, which is horrible. Yeah. But now the guys are back to the same, if not more, entry fees for the Bass Pro Tour.
Yep.
It's like. And even last year, I think it was last year, they went back to 5 fish. And now next year it's going to be as many as you can again. Like they keep changing it around.
I think that was the biggest misstep out of everything they've done. And certainly the whole money aspect of it is a big issue too. But, again, catching as much as you can, that was cool, and then it got old fast because nobody else is doing that. And nobody else does that anywhere around here, not at the local level. So you can't relate to it as well as your standard kind of weekend warrior angler, weekend tournament angler. And then they're like, okay, well, it's got to be minimum of 2 pounds. Like, okay, at least in the right step of the direction. Now we're not just seeing them hammer dinks all day. Like, there's got to be at least a little more effort into it.
Yeah.
But it was still the same deal. It's like, what? I really kind of can't relate to this, not from a tournament perspective. Then there was the 5 fish thing. I'm like, okay, no, good. Like, I mean, dude, if you're going to do tournament fishing on TV, it should be the same as, what the vast majority of the world is doing.
Yeah.
Now they're reverting back to it. Like, but why? Why? Like, I don't know. I don't, me personally, I don't think if the reason they did that was because they were losing viewership, I personally think it has less to do with the fact of going to a traditional 5 fish format. It's just because of all the inner turmoil bullshit going on along it. And then the just, I guess, a consistent, strong sense of direction, what they're going with. Everybody's just kind of sitting and scratching their heads like, the fuck's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why am I bothering with this? I know these people have their own problems, but they're consistent over here, so I'm just going to stay over here.
Yeah. Oh, crap. I was going to say something. Shit. It just popped into my head. And it was a good point. And now it's not there anymore. 5 fish limits, going to quantity, quality. Oh, yeah. So, in my opinion, that whole quantity bullshit is dumb because there's no drama. It kills the drama because there's always one clear winner.
Yeah.
78 pounds. The next person's 30. It's like they're not catching up. Like rarely is there a dramatic finish like you see in a weigh-in in a Bassmaster or a 5-fish tournament.
Yeah.
Right. And Bass I feel like Bass does a phenomenal job with that. With Bass Track, everybody, sandbagging. So then, you tune into the weigh-in and all of a sudden there's drama. The thing that MLF does well is that they have a clear winner during a live stream during the event instead of having to, switch off and go to the weigh-in to wait for 150 angles to weigh in.
Right.
The classic is obviously the outlier there because that's just dramatic, has a TV spot, just, the production value's, awesome.
Yep.
But, that's where I feel like they differ, from a viewer's point of view, positives or negatives.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So who knows what the heck's going on in that front office, but I know one person doesn't like it at all, and that's Mr. James Watson.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you watched any of his stuff?
I saw all that with the FBD hats, and I got a good chuckle out of that. It was funny because one of my coworkers, is still a big bass angler, but was like big in the tournament scene here in New Hampshire, was on the Ranger team for a long time too. Was getting a deal in boat every year.
Yeah.
And where we were traveling recently. Oh, yeah, it was during the work trip out to Ontario. We're going to dinner. He looks at me and goes, "Hey, what's the deal with Watson?" I just started laughing.
This guy, all right, first of all, speaking of brands that we've been talking about, this guy has a brand and entertainment value.
Oh, yeah.
He's educating and entertaining, right?
Yep.
But his education is the turmoil.
Yeah.
At least what it seems lately, right? It's the forward-facing sonar stuff. It's the FBD, which fishing boat docks, but I think we all know it's fuckboy ducket.
Yep.
He won't say it, obviously, because they'll get fined again. But, we don't have any contractual obligations, so I'm just going to say it. So, but, he's now been on, he got fined for saying stuff on a podcast. I think it was Luke Duncan's Traveling Circus, potentially. Don't quote me on that, but it was something they did last year. He got fined for sportsmanship, said he talked bad about the business. They never gave him an exact rule that he broke, which is why there's so much drama. There's no visibility onto what he broke to justify his suspension, first of all, and then his fines that they keep handing down.
Yep.
So, he's on this war path, rightly so. But now all the drama's coming out, all the dirt's coming out. And it would have almost been better if MLF and Boyd Duckett had this awareness and just put it all out there and said, this is exactly what you did. This is why it's justified.
Right.
But now it just feels like they're putting him on blast because they want to make an example of him. Right. And he says this too. He's like, they're doing this because I'm a scapegoat. They want me to be the guy that they say, hey, don't do what he did or you're going to get fined and banned.
Yep.
All right. But Watson has a brand where, again, back to an earlier conversation, take away the tournament scene, he's going to be fine.
Yes, he is.
Right? So he's got those extra avenues of revenue where he's educating, entertaining as a brand that he just lost a platform to promote it. But he will have no problems finding a new platform to promote this stuff down the road. Yeah. Not to mention, he started this whole FBD movement, that's probably lucrative, funny, entertaining, and providing awareness on the MLF turmoil.
Yep.
right? So you got to think of all those things and what he's doing. It's crazy, and he's. I love when he talks about it. He gets so worked up, like he was on the Bilge podcast. All right, and we'll get into this a little bit with Chris Zaldane and Trade Zaldane.
Yeah.
They do a great job, but I do feel like they are now concentrating on every part of the drama.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Every new podcast is about the drama.
That's why I stopped watching or listening.
It's well done. It's informational, but it's
Tiring.
It's really emphasizing the negativity of the sport right now.
Oh yeah.
You know, that along with, the Watson stuff, along with the rookie stuff on the Bassmaster Elites right now with the forward-facing sonars, across all platforms, right?
Yep.
But that's why I feel like the bass sport is in turmoil, because there is so much content out there right now that is all focused on the negative.
Yeah.
And I don't, nobody is saying how you should change it or how we're going to change it. It's, hey, this is what happened. Make your own mind about it. Make your own mind up about it. And it's like, all right, well, I'm making it up, but you're kind of swaying my decision a little bit with all these podcasts. I need somewhere to get all the right information. I'm assuming what you're saying is right, but I don't know. But it's just, it's so, like you said, it's tiring, and it doesn't help our sport.
No, not one damn bit. And I'm not going to sit here like I'm standing on some moral higher ground compared to all these other people, because in my younger days, and not too long ago, I used to be not all about that turmoil and drama and everything, but I was always involving myself in it because I misdirected my passion. And it took me a long time to understand the kind of person that I was and how I was being perceived by people, and not understanding that while I thought I had good intentions, I was coming across as a dick. And I had to break that habit out of myself because I didn't know how to constructively focus my passion about certain topics. And I've learned how to do that. And now I just don't want to get involved in any of these, like those discussions. And like my buddy has asked me a couple times for our show. He's like, you should talk about like maybe this topic. I'm like, no, because there's nothing else I can add to it. And I'm very much there's two sides to every story. So if I can't get as many details as possible from both sides, and I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, because it's just not worth getting involved in, to a certain extent. Like, you can certainly have an opinion on things and discuss it in a friendly manner, but man, I just don't want to go down that road. And especially when everybody else is beating the shit out of it. It's like, specifically to like what Chris and Trait and other people are doing. It's just like, dude, I'm just here to talk about fishing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering if part of it is, what else is there to do with fishing content? It's oversaturated. From an educational point of view, you can only teach someone how to tie a drop shot in a video so many times. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much fishing content out there, which, makes it easy to learn the sport, which is great. But there's almost, well, first of all, everyone highlights the negatives, right? And that's what gets the views. Yeah. Which I hate. But, I'm guilty of it too. I watch the people that have controversy on the water, yelling fights, Karens on the water, on the docks, stuff like that. I watch it. I don't subscribe to those people, but a lot of that stuff is negative, but that's what gets views. And I don't like that. I hate that.
No. And the problem that I see with that is, whether you're interested in it or not, there's always going to be something where people are talking from a controversial perspective that's going to grab your attention. And even if you have no intention of getting involved in that discussion, someone at some point is going to touch on a topic that you are extremely passionate about and or extremely knowledgeable about. And they're going to come at it from a completely biased and just incomplete fact-based, like, shot across the bow.
Yeah.
Or, they're going to say something just completely wrong. They're going to say something that just really strikes a nerve, whatever. And like, that's why controversial topics, in my opinion, always do so well because you've got too much passion, too much knowledge, and then emotion gets in the way. And despite, damn it, I really don't want to get involved in this, but holy shit, he's wrong, or man, he just doesn't understand, he or she, whatever, and then the people get involved in that. I have a theory on why a lot of people do that too, and it's a mixed bag. Some people just do it because they know that it's going to generate views and income for them, and that's all they care about. That's their goal at the end of the day. Let's, whatever, so be it. Whatever floats your boat. If that's all you want to do is make money, then have at it. And then there are other people, like, I'm not even going to shoot out names because I could be entirely wrong. I only have so many examples to go off with some people, so I'm not going to specifically name somebody. But in general, especially from my gaming days, the other kind of people that really like to engage in controversial topics on a regular basis are those that completely lack any personality. Like they completely lack charisma of any kind whatsoever, so that you can't just enjoy listening to the person, and it's someone that you wouldn't even want to be friends with or acquaintances with. So the only way that they can grab that engagement for something that they really want to do is just to talk about something controversial, because they lack the skill sets to engage people in any other way, shape, or form. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah. I seem to think that a controversial topic that is open-ended will bring out all the people in this world that have a right and not wrong mentality. So everybody is right, nobody is wrong. That is what social media is doing right now.
Oh, dude.
And
the echo
that's
chamber.
why I feel like all the drama, all the controversy, you put it open-ended and make have someone else decide whether it's right or wrong is bad.
Yep, wholeheartedly agree. And it's funny you mentioned that, because back in my gaming channel days, there was a certain way that I carried myself that didn't. I always thought I was trying to be open-minded, and the way I presented myself and communicated did not allow that perception. Whatever. I learned from my mistakes. I was not good at it. But whatever, I learned. And I've found that, like, there are certain things I'm very passionate about and things that I feel I know a lot about, but I make sure to communicate that and convey that in a way, because I am also extremely open-minded and very flexible, and I am willing to hear any and all differences in opinions on what I'm talking about, as long as it's constructive, because at the end of the day, dude, all I want to do is learn and talk about fishing in any way, shape, and form. So I make sure to always add in as many disclaimers as possible that I'm not the smartest angler, I'm not the best angler, and half the times I'm just kind of shooting from the hip, trying to figure it out on the fly. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm just some schmuck from New Hampshire that loves fishing and loves talking about it. But there are certain things that I've put in a shit ton of time on to be as good at it as I can, and there is always going to be hundreds of other people that are still way better than me, but I also know I'm really good at it too. So, there's caveats to everything.
True, but here's another problem. We are in a sport where knowledge and secrets rule.
Yes.
Right? So if you do not care about giving away secrets and information, which has gotten you to where, someone is as a brand and as a tournament angler, then you will do fine. Because you don't care what's on video. You don't care, if someone else, you're helping someone else find a spot, or you're not presenting drama. I guess, I don't know if it's presenting drama, but like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's you don't care. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, he's there. All right, all good. I show him that spot. I did this, I did that. Some people have a huge problem with it. And social media is dramatizing that as well.
Oh, yeah.
With all these, oh God, I don't even know where to start with this. It's just a lot of, I was there yesterday, you can't be here.
Oh, yeah.
That's my hole. I found these fish. These are my fish. Don't cast over me. This shit, that shit. What's the bait? What's the bait today? What's the bait tomorrow?
I've run into that a couple of times.
When the body of water, this is my idea with this. I'm tripping on my words this because I didn't really think I was going to talk about this a little bit. New Hampshire, very small bodies of water.
Yeah.
So you seem to think that a lot more people will keep a lot of that stuff close to them on smaller bodies of water because they don't want their spots to be burned.
Yeah.
It's more realistic on a smaller body of water. When you're talking about the elites and some of the, when you go down south, all these bigger Tennessee River, bodies of water and bigger elite series platforms and playing fields, it's a little less of an issue.
Yep.
In my opinion. Like if I went down there, if I went to Champlain, like you do at Champlain, like
yeah.
I only assume that you do a lot of your stuff out there because first of all, it's phenomenal fishing. And, maybe you don't want to burn some of the local stuff that you have here, because you enjoy just going out there and grabbing a couple fish here and there without someone being on your spot in a small pond. Is that true?
No, actually, I mean, only a little. Champlain, I just like going to because it once you fish there, you don't want to fish anywhere else. It's one of the greatest fisheries I've ever experienced. And you can catch smallmouth and largemouth in 1,000 different places, 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
And I filmed on, all of my honey holes. And there's only one spot that is really blown up with a lot of boat traffic. But it was before my channel was anything. So I don't think that there was a direct correlation between me posting videos from there and the amount of traffic that happened. Because now that place, it literally happened overnight. But over the winter. And I've been fishing there. I'm 39 now. My dad took me there when I was 9 years old. So I've been fishing there for 30 years. And the place used to be awesome. And then about 8 years ago. So again, this is like when I started the channel, but come on, I wasn't getting any views for like the first 2 or 3 years. And you went out there on a Saturday. And if there was one other boat out there, it was kind of unusual, but not crazy. If there was 2 other boats out there, it was like, whoa, what's going on today?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that all the way up until about 8 years ago. And then every Saturday and every Sunday you go out there ever since then. And it was literally as soon as ice out started. And at this point, I don't even think I'd posted any videos there. Maybe one, and I know it wasn't a good one. But yeah, anyway, now you can't go there. There's at least 4 or 5 boats there. Every Saturday, every Sunday. Friday's usually 3 or 4 boats there. It's annoying. And the place has definitely fallen downhill from there since there. But I never really worried about posting videos from some of these places I go to, with some exceptions. Like I try not to show the boat ramp because then it makes it like painfully obvious. Mm-hmm. Anytime you show the road, that makes things a little bit easier too.
Yep.
But, avoiding those 2 things for the most part, it's pretty easy. And I've always maintained that, like you said, New Hampshire, we have 650-ish publicly accessible bodies of water. And I would say probably a little north of 400 of those you can put a bass boat in. Mm-hmm. So just in the southern half of the state, God, that number has got to be like 250 bodies of water. If I had to take a guess, maybe 300. Like there's a ton of bodies of water. It's nuts. And that's one of my favorite things about this state. So anybody that watches one of my videos on these smaller bodies of water, as long as I don't show the ramp or anything really uniquely defining about it, which is kind of rare anyway, mm-hmm. The only people that are going to know where the hell I'm fishing are the people that have already been there. Yeah. And the only people that are going to know that, talk about it, then are the ones that are responsible for blowing up the spot. Like, yes, mm-hmm. I may have recorded video and posted it, but I don't tell people where I'm at. Most of the time, I don't even tell them the state anymore. But usually it's just, I'm in New Hampshire, I'm in Vermont, I'm in Maine, whatever. Yeah. So what I've come to find out, a couple of instances, a couple of ponds where it's like, oh, yeah, dude, we noticed you were posting videos here. I was like, oh, cool. Have you been here before? No, but my buddy fishes here a lot, and he saw your video, and he told me about it. That happened like 6 years ago. I was like, that's it. It's not my fault. Like, I know I can't say I'm completely without fault in this because I posted the damn video, but I didn't say the location. I didn't post anything to help define where the hell I was. Oh, Christ, all you can see is trees. Like, come on. And I'm not really giving anything away here. It's the people that see the videos that recognize the spot that go tell their buddies, dude, he was fishing there. And sometimes it's like anger, and the other times like, oh my God, he was fishing the spot we fish, which is cool. And it's those guys that are talking to their friends and talking to their friends, and those friends talking to friends, and all of a sudden, 50 people know about where I was fishing, and I didn't say a damn word about it, but those other 50 people did. I really went off deeper into that than I meant to, but it's something that I was really nervous about years ago, and then I realized I had nothing to be worried about, because I do take care not to divulge where we are, except for, like big places, Winnie, Champlain, Candlewood, things like that.
Yeah.
And, anybody that's talking about where I'm fishing or people that already know the body of water, and they're the ones that are responsible for blowing it up, not me.
Yeah. I mean, that's the informational world that we live in, right? It's people can do all sorts of detective work now instead of going out and finding their own spots. And I think that's there's a lot of contention there as well. It's, the lack of getting out there and doing your own work. It's copying somebody else. It's copying this, copying that. Damn, we see it in movies. They're doing all friggin' remakes now. We see it in music now. It's cover bands, cover music. It's stupid. Now we see it with the bass fishing world. Let's do what he's doing because we can get out there and get a fish easily because he caught one there. I knew that. I don't have to go out there and look myself. I can just go to his spot.
Right. Which
I hate that too.
I despise it, and I get it and I don't get it, because everybody wants to go out there and catch fish. A lot of people want to go out there and catch a big fish. So I can absolutely understand the allure of seeing, like, I don't know, a couple of people catching like donkeys all the time. And you're like, God damn, I really want to know where he's fishing, especially if you're like constantly just catching 2s and 3s, right? You're just looking for like that first 5 of your life.
Yeah.
So I can get the drive behind that and desperation behind that as well. But then people that just in general want to know where everybody else is fishing for the sake of like, I don't want to put in the work. I just want to go catch fish. Like, God damn, dude, that's like 90% of the adventure and the fun in fishing for me.
Correct.
It's figuring it out. But that's the way I'm just mentally constructed. I don't want to say built, but you know what I mean? That's just what makes me tick. I enjoy that. That's why Andrew and I, we prioritize going to new bodies of water as blind as possible, as often as possible, because it's a twofer. You go to explore something that you know absolutely nothing about, and you hope for the best. And then on top of that, it continues to keep that mental sword sharp with testing myself. Can I figure out the pattern quickly with the information I have at hand today? Can I figure it out? Anybody can go out and be successful. You fish the same, 150-acre pond 2 weeks straight. Anybody can figure it out. It doesn't take that much. It takes a couple of brain cells and determination. But to go out there and be successful consistently, constantly going to new bodies of water you've never been to, like that's challenging. Yeah. Especially being up here. You know our weather up here. You live in the same area as I do. You want to know what the weather was today? Ask me tomorrow. And, we have winter, and then we have spring, all the way up to summer, and then all the way down to fall. Like there's those flat at the winter and the flat at the top of the summer, about that much out of that much of the year. Right. Otherwise, our weather's all over the place. So it's hard when you get once a week to go out and figure them out. But God damn, man, it's satisfying when you can.
Correct. And I'm built the same way you are. Part of, I get a sense of accomplishment by, let me do research on this and figure out the pattern myself. If I can go out in avionics, find a spot, go out there and catch fish on that spot based on the knowledge that I've learned through research, not of what other people are doing, but research of what bass patterns are and, the topography of the actual, body of water I'm going out, and then just, finding bass and catching them. You feel so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's fulfilled.
Yes.
I guess you could say, right? Like if I went out, saw somebody, on a spot, catching a ton of them, or like researched where someone was catching a ton of fish, went there myself and caught them, I would feel like a jackass. I'd be like, you know what? I feel horrible about being here. I didn't do any of the work myself. F that. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And we're not, the younger generation, I feel like, I'm going to put them on blast. They feel like it's okay to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it, because that's the only other thing I've ever known is everybody sharing everything all the time. So it's just kind of, that's normal to them. So like, I get it. I absolutely get it. But that's where the fun in the journey is for me too. And I mean, to your point about going to other places, like it's totally different when you're talking to your buddies and one of your friends goes to a new pond, like, dude, we crushed them. You really need to go check this out. Like that's different versus like,
correct.
Like, I know of one guy locally, dude, he's been on them, and man, what is he? I don't even want to give any more details because I really want to protect this guy's spot.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I'm positive I know where it is, and now I'm like, I feel uncomfortable about it because it's a spot that I've been dying to fish for years, and I just haven't prioritized it. So shame on me.
Yeah.
And now I guarantee I know where he is, and I'm like, God damn it! Now I don't want to go there because like I know the guy kinda, and we've talked a few times, and what he's doing out there is nothing short of magical.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, that's just going to look bad if I go out there right now. It's bad. I've had this lake on my list for like 6 years. And there's another time where like this actually got me in trouble. Same deal. It was because that's literally every weekend Andrew and I look for like 30 different places and 28 of them are new. And it's like, okay, let's go here. But we have like a running list of about 100 different bodies of water that we haven't touched yet, that we've identified over the last 6, 7, 8 years. That are just, we are aware of it. We know there are fish in there. We just haven't been there, so we don't know the quality. And inevitably, somewhere down that stretch, someone will be like, hey, you know what, dude, this place is like, got him. It's like, fuck, it was on my list.
But that's different. Right?
Yeah,
that's
but people don't believe it. And
True.
that's half the problem. And that's what got me in trouble with one guy one time. And it was infuriating because it's like, dude, I will literally show you the text to go back. And I had them. I had the screenshots between Andrew and I on this one particular body of water. And it didn't matter because me being a social media angler primarily, it didn't matter.
True, but here's the thing on that though. If someone that I knew said that to me and said, "Hey, that place has got them," right?
Yep.
I'm not going to ask them where. I'm going to say, okay, but I'm also not going to make that a primary spot. So I'll go out there once a year, maybe.
Right.
So I'm not blowing it up every friggin' weekend. Be like, all right, I'll go check it out. It's not my go-to spot, but maybe it will be every once in a while, right? I'm not going to blow it up every weekend, right? Because I'm going to respect him telling me that there's good fish in there, but that he fishes it all the time, and I won't blow a spot up. So that's just respect.
Yeah,
like respect other people.
Yep,
It's not that fucking hard. Excuse my language. I'm gonna have to put this as this is not made for kids. This podcast on YouTube.
I've got a handful of people I know that I've told about a couple of ponds, and they beat the shit out of it. And it is what it is. And I've got a couple of ponds that like people told me about, like this one in particular where there's quite the argument about it. I've only fished there 6 times, maybe 7 in the last 4 years. I'd like to fish it more, but it comes down to that respect thing. Like, it was on our list, meant to fish it, just never got around to it, and then became an issue, and it was like, we didn't even touch it for 2 years after that. It's like, okay, if that means that much to you, proof that it was on our list, but whatever, man, I'll stay away. Fish a couple times here and there after that, but otherwise, like, dude, that's our honey hole. I'm going to stay off it. I got mine, you got yours. We cross paths every once in a while. We're all good now. And it's just is what it is. It's, like you said, it comes down to that mutual respect. If it's not just like, and it's specific to ponds like this, where it's not just like, dude, this is a good place that I fished. That's a little bit different. Maybe fish those a little bit more often, depending on how that conversation came up. Especially if he's a really good friend. It's like something they just found. Kind of a different story. Because I'll do the same thing. I'll find a new place, and I've got like 5 guys. I'm like, dude, you need to fucking fish this place. Because it's just, whether it's magical overall or it's just really good for a specific type of fishing, like those are the kind of places that it's like, this needs to be your go-to.
True.
Like, then like the true honey holes, places that people have grown up on, thank you for sharing it with me. I'll give it a shot or two, in the next 2 years.
Right.
Otherwise, it'll stay
like
off. It's yours.
I'm not going to blow it off, but I'll give it a shot every once in a while. But again, that's also how tight-knit is your friend group, like your fishing friend group too, right?
Right.
Like, if me and 2 or 3 other of my buddies went out in the pond, you included, right, to a place that, we all kind of knew, I wouldn't care. Like, it'd be fun, because then we could, have a little friendly competition. If you're on a spot, I'd be like, oh, you bastard, you beat me there. Laugh about it. We'll find something else. It doesn't really matter. Oh, man, again, something just came and I lost it again. Again, my fishing, I don't fish as much as I want to anymore, right? I'm knee deep in coaching responsibilities with a 7-year-old. So, and I'm loving every minute of it. Don't get me wrong. But again, I'm not someone who goes out every weekend for hours and hours and hours on different bodies of water. So if
Yep.
someone tells me about a place, it's not like I even have the time to go do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to think about that too. Are you telling a guy that's retired that can go out every single day and he's going to bury 70 fish, every day on the same place? It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold that spot to myself because I know he's going to be out there every freaking day.
Yep.
It's very, there's special circumstances around the communication that anglers will have with each other. I guess that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So that we all get along, can just fish.
Right.
Right. All right. Let's pivot a little bit. Get to the next topic of conversation.
All right. Let's hear it.
Forward facing sonar. Before we get to this, I'm kind of pissed off at my lighting situation because it looks like I have yellow ass teeth right now.
Oh, I can't even see that.
I have a yellow light here and a white one here. So I don't know what to think. All right, guys, my teeth aren't this yellow. They're as yellow as this damn shirt. Ben's Tackle Shack, shout out. But anyways,
pull down. There we go.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I'll edit it in post. All right, so again, let's get into this topic because it's highly controversial. Front facing sonar.
Oh yeah.
Good for the industry, bad for the industry. What's your opinion?
Man,
don't give me a middle ground, Sean. Don't do it.
So here's the problem. I have trained myself so well to always picture every topic, every situation, every discussion, both sides of either end of the perspective, that all I see is middle ground in almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
From the perspective of what it's done to the industry as a whole and how people are reacting to it, I think it's done more harm than good. And from a fishing perspective, I would also say it's done a little bit more harm than good because, let's face it, there's a lot of really good anglers out there. And there's even more decent anglers out there. And as long as you have a relatively good grasp on how to find fish, then it's extremely helpful in knowledgeable hands. And I'll die on that hill. You could give me a $10,000 set of golf clubs. I'm not going to start shooting under 110 all of a sudden. I'm a shit golfer. I love it, and it is fun. And I try and do it as often as I can, but it doesn't change the fact that I suck at it. And no matter what you give me for technology, until I put more time into it and actually practice and try and get better, I'm not going to get better. And the tools are not going to make me better. And that's forward-facing sonar in a nutshell, and I will die on that hill. But, it's definitely changing fish because now it's taken side imaging's impact on offshore fishing to a whole new level. Side imaging has been phenomenal for offshore fishing by finding some of those deeper vegetation, rock piles, things like that. But it still didn't eliminate truly the middle of the water column. And now forward facing sonar has. And there are so many anglers out there that at least have a pretty good idea of what to do when finding fish offshore and how to catch them throughout the summer when you're more likely to benefit from fishing offshore, that those unpressured fish are now just pressured. That's it. We've removed the last part of the lake that had almost no pressure. Now every square inch of the body of water is pressured. So from that perspective, it's bad because it's just making things tougher across the board.
All right, let me ask you this. What's the definition of a good angler?
To me, a good angler is someone that can recognize the conditions that are present to them at that time of the day and can understand how the fish are reacting to certain things and to have the experience to understand how to pivot and react correctly. To elaborate on that, it's not just as easy as throwing a Kitech at a fish and hoping for the best. Some days it's pretty easy just to sling a Senko at them, but even that doesn't work every single time you go out there. And you could have literally everything else correct for what you're throwing. Line type, line diameter, the weight of the head, the type of bait, the right spot, everything, but you could be throwing the wrong color because you're unaware of what the primary forage is, or you're just not truly understanding what the water clarity is looking like at the depth that you're targeting. to understand all of that and how to make the most out of that information to consistently find success, that to me makes a good angler.
Okay. All right. Because I feel like before FFS, you needed to have vast knowledge of bass behavior, right? And that came from what? Experience on the water.
Yeah.
Right? You couldn't just go online and learn about all this stuff back in the day. But even before, front-facing sonar, but we still had internet, you could still go on and research a little bit, right? But you still needed a vast knowledge of bass behavior to be a relatively capable angler.
Yeah.
With front-facing sonar, I don't believe you need to have that vast knowledge of bass behavior anymore, because you can just go to the middle and find roaming fish.
Yeah, but finding them making a bite are two different things.
I agree. But the experience is almost nullified. No, I wouldn't say it's completely nullified, but you don't need the experience on the water anymore, or as much as you did, to be a very capable angler. So I guess you could say, take a lot of the guys, but take the Elite Series pros, right?
Yep.
The ones that are dominant on front-facing sonar. Take front-facing sonar away. Do you think they'd still be doing as well? I'd say maybe some of them, because they had knowledge prior to front-facing, so they could still fish without it. And front-facing helped. It's a tool to help. The younger class, I feel like they're just dependent on.
I don't know I can answer that, because I have been following these guys enough to truly understand what it is that they've done. Trey McKinney is kind of an outlier, right? And that's the danger in this conversation, is that a lot of people are focusing on the outliers. And you're going to have outliers in everything. So if you really like McKinney, he's an outlier. So you have to remove outliers to really truly understand the full scope of the issue or non-issue at hand. And you remove some of those outliers, and I would say the majority of them would still do really well. And, you look at Tyler Williams, and as much as he's got a ton of forward-facing sonar on his boat, dude's still killing him just throwing a jig, and just power fishing shallow with a jig. Yeah. And, on the other side of that spectrum, you got guys like Polinick, a couple other guys, Fighter, that Angler of the Year winners. They've won quite a few blue trophies themselves. Swindle, they're getting their fucking teeth kicked in, and they have had more access to this than anybody else. A lot of these guys had access to this technology even beforehand, and they're still getting their teeth kicked in. So it's like,
true.
On the one hand, it's like, okay, new guys are coming in with this technology, and it's like, okay, that's why they're winning. It's like, well, what about all the other guys that already know a shit ton more about fishing, that have had this technology longer, that are still struggling?
I want to say that, and I can't confirm or deny this, but I believe that the average bass has increased in the professional event world since the adaptation of front-facing sonar. So while the guys that you're talking about, who have been sticks in the past but aren't doing well anymore, that maybe have those bigger brands that did well before FFS and now are struggling, they might be still catching the same average weight size that they have in the past, but now that bar has moved, and they are just now they're just at the bottom now instead of the top.
Dude, that is such a fucking excellent point, and I'm so glad you said it, because I wholeheartedly agree with you. that the one thing that everybody has always said, everything I've ever read, every video I've ever listened to, every podcast I've ever heard, every tournament I've ever watched, from when I was a wee little shit to what I am now, everything has been said with complete consistency that the biggest fish live offshore for the most of their life.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of the biggest fish in any body of water are offshore. So yeah, guys that spend the vast majority of their time that are using forward-facing sonar offshore, they're not getting that many bites, but when they do, they're making it count. They are specifically going after the biggest damn fish in that body of water way more often than a lot of guys. The moment you get onto the bank, I firmly believe the number of the biggest fish you can possibly catch really starts to go down most of the year.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. Well, that's why we're seeing some of these insane bags, because there are a few guys that are like, that's all I'm going to do because I know the potential of it. And I might only get 5 fish, but holy shit, they're going to be the right 5 fish.
Right.
And it's like, you think back to the St. Lawrence River. What was it? 3 or 4 years ago. And Paul Mueller almost went wire to wire. And he had 28 pounds, I think, on day 1. He only got 6 bites all day that day.
Yeah.
But he was out there friggin' 3 or 4 miles out into Lake Ontario because he just had the right school of just a handful of the biggest damn fish in the lake, and he followed those bastards around all day. They were just sitting on this one cluster of rocks out in the middle of nothing. And I'm not going to divulge how I got this information, but I know this. And it's no different. The only thing that guy was doing back then was using 360. You could see him on the rock and the way they were relating around it.
Yeah.
Now guys are just doing a forward-facing sonar.
Yeah. So I think that might be one of the reasons why it's helping fisheries, because now guys can go out and specifically target 5 bites only, right? Yeah. Versus maybe 15. So now you're reducing it even more with the numbers of catches on a body of water through an Elite Series event or MLF. No, MLF, I guess. MLF wouldn't really happen because that's still quantity, but yeah, especially in elites, maybe that's helping in that aspect. Yep. But here's why I think it's hurting. Now, think about, I always think about how the sport's going to grow and how to get more younger kids involved in it.
Yep.
Right? So by allowing and promoting all of these electronics on a boat, you are making it a rich man's sport. You are automatically, unless a kid has daddy's money, you are automatically cutting them out of the equation and saying, you know what, you're not going to be able to do this unless you have a $120,000 boat. Right? You have all these kids that want to get into it. I mean, even my series, the aluminum fishing series, tin rigs, they're cheaper. I'm trying to grow the have an avenue where younger kids can get in cheap and get into competitive fishing, maybe as a platform step to go up to something else.
Yep.
But now you look at how much money there is in this thing. People are throwing this down your throat that says you need to have it to be, competitive. You need to have 3 screens, all of them 15 fucking inches with 7 transducers on a boat. That is not helping. Especially with prices of boats going up too. You're now cutting out a significant younger generation from wanting to get into the sport because they simply cannot get into that much debt.
I agree with you to an extent. Before forward-facing sonar really exploded on the scene, we'll say 4 years ago, it was already a rich man's sport. Even if you throw out the cost of entries, just how much the price of boats have skyrocketed in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It is insane. And it's something that I am acutely aware of because when I bought my first used boat, I got a screaming deal on it in 2018, and it was still really expensive. And then I just ended up buying a 2019 because that's all I could afford. And, dude, I make goddamn good money. And I have like next to nothing for mortgage because I got lucky when I bought my house in 2010. So I'm doing a lot better than most people that my debt is pretty damn low. My monthly expenses are pretty damn low. And my fucking salary is really goddamn good. But Jesus, dude, even I could barely keep up with a used boat. It's a 5-year-old boat now, and it's like, holy shit, I can't believe how much money I'm spending.
Yeah.
I don't regret it one bit, but it was already a rich man's sport, and it's just getting richer by the year. And this is just another added layer on compounding an already extremely problematic issue.
Yeah, I'll agree to that, but I'll also add this: before, boat prices went skyrocketing,
Yeah,
and before, I guess I'll just say before FFS, it seemed like you could get into a reasonable rig with minimal electronics and be competitive.
yeah,
Now the rhetoric in the industry is don't even think about being competitive at the pro level without at least $30,000 worth of electronics and accessories in your boat.
right. And I guess it's one of those, like, where do you draw a line? If you're trying to go at that pro level, you're really trying to fish at that higher level. At a certain point, you got to start spending the money, because it's not necessarily about having the best technology. It's about what that technology offers you. And shit, man, 6 15-inch graphs or even 6 12s is insane. But think about how much side imaging alone helped you break down water, and like just even on a 7-inch screen. And then, but now it's like you're missing details because you got a 7-inch screen split between it. So yeah, the more and the bigger you have, just the easier it is to see things, and more importantly, not miss something. And someone can go out there. I mean, Christ, dude, anybody go out there and be competitive on the tournament scene if they had enough time, and in 3 days, a guy that's got forward-facing sonar off both sides of the bow of the transom acted as a side imaging, with his side imaging simultaneously to see structure and the kind of fish on the structure at the same time. They're just getting a shit ton more information right off the bat, and it's just decreasing the amount of time they need to spend on it. But I don't know, there's still guys that are doing well without it.
Yeah.
So, but most of the guys are doing better with it. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm trying to make sure I understand it from every perspective.
True.
As I'm just talking myself through this to understand all the pros and cons on it. But yeah, for the most part, I do agree with you. It's bad in general, because is it really necessary? No, but you're just not as effective and efficient without all that technology at that pro level. Now at the, grassroots level, like everything we do.
Practice is for?
Is what?
Isn't that what practice is for?
Yeah, but, brand new body of water, you got like 3 days to break down water. I don't know. It's trying to think how I want to explain this. Yeah, it absolutely helps immensely. And it's funny because I've had it now for a year and a half, and I'm still doing exactly with it what I said I was going to do all along. I've had a few days where I've gone out and just hunted with it, and it's been kind of fun, but for the most part, that'll just drive you through a fucking wall, because you'll see 10 times as many fish as you'll catch. And honestly, that's probably an understatement. You'll probably see 20 times as many fish as you will catch on it. And it's infuriating to see that. But from the perspective of I've put in so much time in the water now, and especially with breaking down patterns fast, I know that's one of my strongest, or one of my biggest strengths as an angler is I can break down water and figure out a pattern fast. And I pull up on the ramp, drop the boat in, get everything in, go in, got water tip. Okay, they're going to be in spots 1, 2, or 3. And it used to be go to spot 1, fish for half an hour, nothing. Spot 2, oh, sick, they're here. Okay, cool, now what we're doing. Sometimes you go to spot 3 and 4. Now it's I pull up, and within 5 minutes, I know whether or not that spot's a bust. But, I already knew all the spots I needed to be at anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Even on a new body of water.
Let me jump back to the money aspect for a minute, because I just came up with. I
digress like crazy.
No, oh, good. Because I just thought of this. So again, you mentioned it was already a rich man's sport.
Yeah.
But my argument would be that back, I don't know how long ago, but there was a time when there were much better boat deals and sponsorship dollars that would help someone. We already know that stuff's gone. You're not getting as many of that. So now there's less help from sponsors and more money being added. It's not helping the rich man sport terminology. Let's put it that way. It's making it more of a rich man's game. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like about it. And I feel like there needs to be a restriction on it. I think it's fun. I think, it's done a lot for the industry business-wise, right? I mean, you saw spinning reels. I mean, that's pretty much all you see is a boom right now. If you're a tackle company and not selling a goddamn friggin' tiny minnow for front-facing sonar, you're out of the game, right? It's all spinning rods and Damiki rigs. You know what I mean? And little tiny friggin' crappie baits that are dominating the business right now.
Which bothers me because it's going to kill my winter bite, but it is what it is.
Right? There you go. Another negative. There we go. But I do think there needs to be some restriction of it. I don't know what that is. I don't think they should get rid of it totally. I've heard rumors that they may restrict the number of transducers on a boat in the future, which would be a good idea. Maybe restrict it during the tournament, but let them use it in practice. Although that would kind of stink because all the footage, some guys like watching people catch them on live if they have like the secondary screen down the bottom. I think that's kind of fun to watch.
Yep.
If that screen's not there, it's kind of dumb. They're just kind of watching. I like seeing the hooks anyways, but I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be something done to make it so not everybody's pissed off about it.
Yeah, at this point I do agree with you on that. Not meaning at this point in our conversation, at this point in the state of the industry. Because it was, like I said earlier, it's already been a rich man's sport. And with the explosiveness of forward-facing sonar and what guys are putting on there that they feel they need to compete, like it's really kind of pushing into another realm of like, holy shit. Whether or not you really need it, totally up for debate, but a lot of people think they need it and they're spending it. And it's like, okay, at a certain point, I do think we kind of need to draw the line because I don't know. It's different than other like physical professional sports in the sense that almost anyone can at least go out and try to become a professional football player or baseball player, golfer, whatever. But then you get into the sport of fishing, and now there is a very real dollar value that becomes attached to that. And to go out and try and chase that, not only do you have the extreme cost of the boat, the vehicle, you need to tow it, all the gas associated with that, your own tackle, and now the electronics that you're trying to, whether or not you have to, but you're still trying to keep up with it. But then all the tournament entry fees on top of it. It's like, now it's not just a matter of whether or not you have it, it's whether or not you have it and the bank account to try it.
Yeah. What's your it's an investment. And what do you need to do to get a return on that investment? And right now, I'm not seeing any realistic way that someone could get into this sport if they don't already have a brand and recoup
deep pockets.
Recoup those fees.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Also, let me go back to something real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the things called on the power poles that have the friggin' the trolling motor motors on?
Brakes. That's literally what everybody's calling right now. It's just like your boat brakes.
Listen to me, everybody out there listening right now. Throw those fucking things at the bottom of the lake. They have no business being on a fucking bass boat. They are an eyesore. They're fucking dumb. You'll use them twice, maybe a month. Okay? They are stupid. Get rid of them.
I saw them and I was like, oh, what's the point of that? And then it was explained to me and I was like, I mean, okay, but also, is it really that beneficial? Because if you're putting them just in the water, I guess it doesn't really matter what length of power pole or raptor you have, right? They're going to go kind of back behind the boat before they drop in. but it's only going to be like, a foot or two difference from the point of entry and just deep enough that you benefit from that thrust. Like they can't just be like an inch below the surface. They're going to be at least probably like a foot down. So there's a lot of water mass around them. So you're really getting good thrust out of them and a lot of water mass to throw to help slow you down. And the whole point of that is so that when you're, instead of high speed trolling and hitting spot lock and blowing out all that water right there, the boat brakes are supposed to stop you without throwing all this water. But you still have two big propellers only about 25 feet behind you throwing all that water anyway. So it's like, is it really that beneficial to have two props 25 feet away throwing that much water versus one prop throwing the water? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would actually love to see like a fluid, like a water flow study on that. Like someone that drives into a cloud of dye and then hits the brakes with their tow motor and like, what does that dispersion look like? And then do the same thing with the brakes and what does that dispersion look like? Like,
yeah,
I can't imagine it's that different.
Listen, it has, I will agree. It has its applications, but that is an easy restriction in my opinion from a professional level.
Yeah.
Get rid of
agree
it.
with that.
It is not needed. That is dumb. Like I can see from like maybe a guiding perspective, if you got a bunch of people on the boat and, it's probably not as much of a jolt.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to stop, right? So maybe a safety thing for guiding.
Yep.
But for freaking professional bass fishermen, there is not one advantage. Get the heck. Yeah, I don't even have to say anything else. That's my opinion on that. I friggin' hate them. They are stupid.
I agree.
Nobody wants to run out of power when they're on the water. There is a better way. Introducing the Charge Marine Power Management Station from Power Pole. Power Pole Charge.
All right, let's roll into something else real quick. So I mentioned earlier, and I know we're an hour and 40 in.
It's all good.
So I want to go through. So I read this article in Bassmaster. It was a bunch of months ago. I forget when exactly it was. It was by Ish Monroe. Did you happen to catch this article?
I remember he had talked about something recently that got a lot of traction on social media, but I can't remember what it was.
I'm going to get the exact time frame because he wrote this article about the industry, and it was spot on. I loved every minute of it. And the title of it was "The Industry Owes Us Nothing."
Yes, I actually did read this. Out of the very few things I get to read, I made sure I took the time to read this.
I loved it, and it put a lot of things in perspective that, I unfortunately hadn't thought about before, and I probably should have. Right? It was kind of like a slap on the hand, being like, "You should have thought of that shit, dummy." But it was in December of 2023, and the basic premise of it was, us as anglers, the bass doesn't owe us anything. We are their customers. And if you want to succeed, it is a platform to spread your brand awareness, right? They allow specific brands, if you want to be a professional fisherman, it is a platform to promote your brand.
Yep.
And that basically sums it all up in terms of the professional industry right now, the sports, the fishing industry. You need a brand. Do you need professional angling and Elite Series platform to promote that brand? Some people do, some people don't. Some people can kickstart their brand career by getting into the elites, which is what we hope for Timothy Doobie, our friend Tim, and maybe even John Levesque as he makes his MLF debut, on that side of things, right? So we've almost got, two sticks up here that are going in different directions, which is really fun to watch.
Yeah.
But again, from a brand aspect, it is, branding, influencing, it's all the same. You have to have that brand, and the Elite Series provides you that platform to expand that brand and to make money off that brand and to make a career out of it.
Yeah.
And that's why, the industry, they're providing that to you. So they don't owe you anything else.
Yep.
right? I mean,
No, dude,
self-explanatory.
spot on.
Yeah. I mean, there's no real discussion there.
No,
But-
he hit the nail right on the head.
Correct. And if you're not thinking that way, then you're a dinosaur,
Yep.
right? If you're thinking that you're just going to go on the Elite Series and be $1 million angler like KVD, win 4, classic championships, seven tourneys in 5 years or whatever the heck it was, it's just not realistic.
No, and you know what? It never has been. You go back and you read some old Bassmaster articles from like the 90s and early 2000s. KVD, Skeet Reese, all those guys, they all talked about it. They're like, the vast majority of my income comes off the water. Has nothing to do with the tournaments. They absolutely help, but it's what I can do for all these businesses to continue to drive sales. And I am fortunate enough that I am successful in the water. That helps back my opinion and voice and my personality and experience and just all of that. So when I do talk about something, people genuinely believe in it. Because I've done really well over here, but it's this aspect and this work that pays the bills and gets me all that money.
Right.
What was it? KVD. I remember an article about this. Shit, dude, this may have been like 20 or 25 years ago. And
but I mean, think about you for a second. I want to put you on the spot right now, right? As Real Northern Bass, right? You have built a brand. You have the content.
Yep.
Okay. You have it's educational content. All right. Now, again, when you're a brand, thinking about in the fishing industry, you're either going to be educational, or entertaining, or the other one is
controversial.
No, it's not that. It's satisfying. Those are the three. So you're either going to be satisfying, educational, or entertaining, or a mix of all three of those. All right. Now, I feel you're on the educational train right now, right?
Yep.
With parts of entertainment, right? Because you have, your podcast and your live streams that you do weekly. You do a phenomenal job with it. You got some great guests and do it. But again, that's more along the lines of educational.
Yeah.
If you found yourself qualifying for the elites, it would highly benefit your brand because you already have that brand backing. You already have that foundation.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So your answer to my original question on this podcast, do you want to be a professional angler, is probably way different than my question, my answer, I guess you could say.
Might be surprised.
But, again, brand management, I forget why I went on to that. I diverted a little bit, but
I hear you.
Regardless, again, it's, use that platform. You can still create content, be a professional fisherman without needing the elites. You can have all these different trails, professional, tournaments, tackle invitationals, qualifiers. You can do all that. Every tournament you do is an opportunity to promote that brand.
Yep.
Right? Speaking of brands, I want to play a game with you.
Okay.
All right?
I'm ready.
This is going to be fun. Let me see if I can get my... All right. Elite Series. I want to stay on the Elite Series because I didn't have the time to do the research on the MLF side.
All right.
But there are 102 anglers in the Elite Series.
Yep.
All right. I want you to try give me the top 10 follower count. So does that make sense? I want you to look at the brands, the people, right?
I guarantee Milliken's number one.
This is across everything. This is so what I included was Facebook, Insta, YouTube, and TikTok.
Yep.
Top followers, top 10. Go.
All right, Milliken's got to be number one.
He's number 2.
Really?
Yep. He's got across the board, he's at 1.25 mil.
Now I'm genuinely curious. Just on the elites, who would be number one? Swindle?
Swindle is 4.
Okay.
So you've got.
I'm confident I got the top 10, but I'm curious who's going to be number one. If it's not, I know Polnick's got to be high up there.
Swindle. Polnick is 5.
All right. Matt Robertson is somewhere on that list.
Sorry, let's go back to Gerald Swindle. He's at 4th with 970,000 total.
Okay.
That includes Facebook followers, Insta followers, YouTube subscribers, and TikTok followers.
Okay.
Sorry, next. Polnick, yeah, he's at 489,000 at fifth.
I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought he'd be closer to like that $750,000 mark, but all right. Matt Robertson on him. Keeping track of
Matt
my names.
Robertson is not in the top 10.
Really? I'm actually kind of surprised by that.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take him off
He's
the
at
list.
166,000.
Okay. Rick Clunn's got to be up there somewhere.
Rick Clunn is not even close.
Okay. Now, I was thinking maybe, but he's not really. Okay.
I should have given you like 3 strikes.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, that's 2 strikes right there.
You got 3 already. You got the second, Ben Milliken. You got 4, Gerald Swindle, and you got 5, Paul.
Oh, Scott Martin. He's got to go.
He's number 1.
Yep.
He's got 1.5 mil.
Okay. So I think I got 4 now.
You got 4, yes.
Oh, let me think of some other names that are on there. Jordan Lee.
You're missing an old guy in number 3. Not really old, but he's also a Northeast guy.
Okay. Jordan Lee on the list.
Jordan Lee is number 6.
Okay. I got
with
5.
389,000.
Oh man, you're really challenging me here. I'm just trying to remember a bunch of names. Can I can look at the list of names, and that's not going to give me.
Of course you can. Yeah.
Okay.
One guy's
Zaldane's got to be on there.
There you go. Yep, Zaldane. He is number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's number 8 with 226,000.
All right. So I got 6 out of the 10 so far. Oh boy. Who the hell else?
One of them surprised me, actually.
I was going to say Trey McKinney, but I don't
isn't.
think so because he's just too young and not too young, too new into it. That I don't think his growth has been that explosive.
So Trey is actually, hold on. Trey McKinney is 37th.
Okay.
With only 58,000. He's lacking on YouTube and TikTok.
So I want to guess Hunter Shryock.
Hunter Shryock is number 9.
Okay.
You are correct. He's
big on YouTube.
225,000 total. TikTok, he's actually up to 31,000. So TikTok, he's really pumping. YouTube, he's got 33,000 subscribers.
All right.
He's one of the bigger ones on YouTube too. You got 3 more. You got number 3, number 7, and number 10. Number 10 was a surprise to me.
Is Kyle Patrick on that list?
Kyle Patrick is 27th.
Okay, he's way down
on this list. Yep.
Well, you said somebody in the Northeast or New England.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if this is. It's kind of on the outskirts of New England a little bit.
Okay, so then this is gonna bother me because I'm everybody else. I'm like,
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
It'll get you in 2 seconds.
What?
Never give up.
Oh my God! I forgot Iconelli was even on the elites. How bad is that?
Correct. Exactly. He I forgot at some point as well. But
I
yes,
completely forgot he's on the elites. That's terrible.
So he is number 3 at 1.03 mil.
Yep.
So he's in the millions. He's the only. So the top 3 are the only ones with million totals. Scott, Ben Milliken, and Iconelli.
Okay. Oh wow, dude! I'm like looking at this list, and I didn't even get to the bottom half of the list of names. So out of I got 2 more left.
2 more.
Wonder if it's somebody non-national, like Taku.
It's not, unfortunately.
Okay.
They lack on some of the let me see. So Taku is 22nd. His YouTube and TikTok are pretty much nothing. So
All right.
That killed him. Who's the other one? Is Kyoya Fujita.
Yeah.
Kenta Kimura, he's way down 31. Kenta Kimura, where is he? I just saw him. Again, his YouTube and TikTok kind of fell off.
Yep.
And then Kyoya Fujita, he's way down at 50. His Facebook doesn't have anything, and his YouTube and TikTok are done. So that kind of put him down at the bottom.
Carl Jocumsen?
So he is number 12.
Okay, I figured he'd be pretty close, but maybe
He's
not
12.
quite inside top 10.
Yep, 179,000.
All right. Oh boy, Steve Kennedy. Did I bring him up earlier?
Steve Kennedy is not even in the top 30.
Really? I kind
Yeah.
of find surprising because he actually does pretty well with his social overall. At
Steve
least in a couple of areas.
His YouTube and TikTok stink.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that'll
So
do it.
he does a lot of TikTok, YouTube, but it's not his own YouTube. You know, there's a lot of guys that do a lot of interviews, a lot of podcasts, stuff like that, but it's not their own channel.
All right. You're going to put me on a pitch
He's
count.
one of those guys.
I got 2 more wrongs to get, and you're going to have to give me these last 2.
That's fine. One of them is a classic qualifier, actually classic winner.
Classic winner?
And he plays guitar, I believe, as well.
Oh, man. I don't know. Who? Hank Cherry?
Nope. Good-looking dude.
Well, I just burned one of my last 2 guesses.
The other guy has a junior attached to his name.
As a junior?
Yeah. This is the
Hank
surprise
Cherry
to me.
Jr.
It's not Hank. It's not Hank. He comes off weird to me.
Who the hell is the other one? Will Davis Jr.? No, he's too young.
Will Davis. Nope.
Hmm.
He hawks a lot of product, so I think he partners with somebody. I forget who it is. It is John Cruz Jr.
I just literally saw the name. I was like, shit, I bet you it's got to be John Cruz.
He's at 198 thou.
There's only one person left on the list that I didn't get, and at this point, I am completely out of guesses. I burned my last 2. So who's the one guy I missed?
One guy you missed, and he's number 7 on the list with 375,000. Jason Christie.
I almost said him, and I was like, I know he does well on YouTube, but I knew nothing else about what else he does, so yep. I disregarded, and I shouldn't have. Should have went with my gut. That's what I get. Well, now I'm curious. Where does 50th angler on that list? Where do they rank up?
50th?
Yeah.
In terms of numbers?
Yep.
39,000.
39,000 total?
Total.
Let me see. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see where I rank up against these guys.
Yep. I knew you'd do that.
I know
while you're looking, I'll go over some of the individuals, right? The Facebook socials. Obviously, Milliken, Swindle, Iconelli, Scott Martin, Christie, Polnick, and Lee. But then rounding out that top 10, Keith Combs, Greg Hackney, and Stetson Blaylock on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah. The Insta, you got, you see this pattern. Iconelli, Martin, Swindle, Polnick, Lee, Christie, Milliken, Zaldane. Then you also have, who comes into this picture is Seth Feider and Carl Jacobson on Insta in the top 10.
Huh.
YouTube, there's about a 50-50 split on who has a YouTube channel versus who doesn't on the elites. So 47 of the anglers don't have a dedicated YouTube channel for their fishing business, and 55 do.
Interesting.
So I mean, YouTube, Scott Martin's huge, right?
Yes.
He's got 662,000. That's his YouTube's massive. Milliken's, right behind him, 560,000. Iconelli's got 195,000. There's a big drop after Milliken and Scott. So they really set the tone. Swindle, Polnick, Zaldane, and John Cruz are still up there, in the YouTube sanctions there, because that's where John Cruz does his stuff. So he's got 35,000 subscribers on YouTube. He does great YouTube content.
Yep.
Then you have Lee Livesey, Kyle Welcher, and Hunter Shryock up there as well. So
I forgot Welcher does a lot.
Jump the YouTube stuff. TikTok, I mean, obviously you could guess that a lot of guys haven't jumped on the TikTok train yet.
Yeah.
So you got about 60% of the anglers on the Elite Series do not have a TikTok account.
Not surprising.
And 40% around do have it.
Okay.
Swindle's the man on TikTok.
Yeah,
right?
He is.
And you can almost, you could guess that just from his personality. TikTok is a heavy platform for personalities. If you're funny on TikTok, you're going to get some views. So he's great. He's got 254,000
Damn.
Followers on TikTok. Scott Martin's another big one on there with 140, so it kind of drops off pretty big. And then those are the only two in the 100K range for followers on TikTok.
Wow.
You got Wes Logan is actually on the top 4 for TikTok. He's got 51,000, which I found to be crazy because he's not, like, if you look at his socials, Wes Logan, where are you? I mean, he's coming in at 28th, but TikTok is his bread and butter. So he's really focusing on that TikTok part of his brand.
Yep.
But you start to think about what do all these socials do, right? In my opinion, YouTube. So you got to find the ones that make money,
Right.
TikTok, you can make money. YouTube, you can make money. Insta, I don't know if you can actually make money, maybe from Reels
Not
now,
anymore.
like Shorts.
Not like you used to.
Right.
Now it's like next to nothing. You got to be like top tier for number of views before you start making money from Instagram anymore.
So you have to. So Facebook and Instagram and TikTok are most of the time avenues to promote something on YouTube, or TikTok could be promoting brands, products, stuff like that. But Facebook and Insta are now, you can promote brands and stuff like that, but it's more worth your time to just promote one of your other channels that makes money and drive traffic to those sites.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. So in your case, your brand, you focus on, I would imagine, the YouTube part of it because of the subscriber aspect of it, right?
Yeah, YouTube, because that's where I enjoy spending most of my time, like putting in the effort anyway, because it's the only creative outlet that I have. So I make the videos and it works well. I do enjoy Instagram too, because I've enjoyed trying to get better at taking pictures, even though I always look the same in them anyway. But I'm trying to take more care and understanding like lighting and angles and stuff, just to try and make a picture look good. Not trying to make the fish look bigger, just make the picture look good.
Yeah, you do have good pictures. I like the colors in your pictures.
Thank you. I do very, very, very little filtering on it, but I have to do a little bit of something because I have the Google Pixel 6. So the beauty of this phone, and what I love about the camera, is the picture is very washed out, and that's why the clarity is so damn good, because I'm not losing some of that processing power to it trying to also add in the color. It leaves a lot of the additional color filtering and add-on out to get a much more crisper, clearer image. So then I have to go back in and add like a little bit of saturation to it so it looks more real. Otherwise, it looks like everything's just super faded. But clarity is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
And I get to be more wordy in that, like I enjoy writing. I really enjoy writing. I really wish I had more time to put it on my website and get back to writing articles. So like being able to just do a regular post on Instagram is kind of a short form writing opportunity for me. And I enjoy doing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the social aspect of it. I mean, I'm a creator. I love creating.
Yep.
I don't like putting money into creating.
Yep.
So while I love the output of video creation, I don't like editing too much. Right. So like I love managing creation. So, more often than not, I'm trying to find somebody that can, I guess, help me create the vision.
Yeah.
Without me needing to learn how to use Illustrator or, download a ton of video creation or video editing content. It took a lot for me to do video Riverside, with a podcast. But this was obviously something that I've actually enjoyed a lot because I've talked to a lot of professional anglers. Had really great conversations with people in the industry, which, this platform has let me do. And, I don't do it often. I wish I could do it as much as you do every week. But I just don't have the time. So I'm very sporadic, which I think hurts me because, people want consistency. But
consistency is king.
It is for views and subscribers and all that stuff. Yes. So for right now, I'm not worried about consistency. I'm worried about quality. And whether people think it's good quality or bad quality. It doesn't matter to me. I think it's pretty good. This conversation's been pretty awesome. So
Yeah.
There's other aspects that I do want to get into too.
Wait.
I don't want to go too much longer. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Who was number 50 on the list? I tallied up all my follower counts. I'm just curious where I stack up.
What's your number?
21,152.
21?
Yeah.
You would be 71st.
I'll take it.
out of 102. I'm not going to go into the lowest number. Let's not worry about that today. He's a guy I know nothing about, Kyle Norsetter. He doesn't really do any socials at all.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the brand aspect of it. Couple more hitting points because I do want to, end this podcast on my original question, right? But we never got into the money aspect of, the being a professional angler, right? It's heavy money up front.
Dude.
I've actually looked at the numbers for. Where's my lures? I don't know where that is. Yeah, so money in Bass Elites, right? If you're in the top 50% of an event, an average, I guess, let's just say, you're going to make 35 grand because the top 50 get 10 grand per event.
Yep.
Right, you're putting in 45, you're getting 80 back, right? So you'll make around 35. If you're in the bottom 50%, you could either be losing between 25,000 and 45,000. That's the big disparity, right? So if you take that as you will, that is just information that I'm throwing out there. Right? You're gonna lose money if you're in the bottom 50% of anglers and you're going against the best anglers in the world. So take that with a grain of salt. If you're in our position, where I know you mentioned you make, a really good living with your current job, aside from the fishing hobby, I'm in the same boat, right? I cannot give that up because of the risk of losing it all, right?
Right.
If I make a really good living, I wouldn't even be close to this if I tried to be a professional angler. Aside from the family stuff, take the family stuff out of it, right? Because the family obligations, obviously takes precedence. But you just think about, as an individual, if I was single and making the money I am now, I don't know if I want to risk going on tour and not having the lifestyle that I have now with the money that I'm making at my current job.
I can understand that.
And most of that is why I would never try to be a professional angler. Like if I was offered a spot on the elites next year, I would say no.
If I were single, I'd say fuck it, and I'd go for it.
Even now?
Even
or
now.
Like single 20 years ago?
Nope, even now. If I were single, like no wife, no kids, and literally that's all that changed about my situation, I would totally do it. But I love my family to death, and I am not willing to risk what I have now to go chase that kind of a dream.
Right.
Because to put it into perspective, wife does pretty good for what she does, but it's not enough that I could risk taking a $45,000 hit at the end of the season.
Right.
So for me to go after being an elite and to get to where I'm currently at now, and I wouldn't have to make quite as much as I'm making right now, but I have to get pretty close because my wife's self-employed, so no health insurance. So there's that added aspect to the challenge of it. And I know you can get health insurance in other avenues, but that it's not the same as having good health insurance through an employer. Right. And I want what's best for my kids. And even with good health insurance, let's face it, in this country, in this economy, it still sucks. It's not great. It's not the end of the world, but it's not great. So for me, current situation with family, salary, everything, the only way I could afford that I could be like, you know what, it's worth the risk. I would have to finish top 10 in every tournament. I would have to finish 10th or better in every tournament.
Yeah.
And then I still wouldn't be making as much as I am right now. If I literally finished 10th in all 10 tournaments. So the 9 of the Elite Series events and then the Classic, because I know at that point you're making the points cut. So you're going to make it to the Classic. You're going to at least get a $10,000 check out of that. And so 10th place in 9 events and dead last in the Classic. That's still, what is it? Well, minus 5 from that would be 145,000. So 100,000 after tournament expenses. And then
you said 10th place?
10th place was 15 grand, if memory serves correct.
Yeah.
So assume it's 15 for the Classic, but it's not. It's 10,000. So whatever. It's 150 minus 5 is 145,000. I believe it's about 45,000.
It is 45,000 for entry.
Sorry, 45,000 for entry. So you're back down to 100. You're probably going to burn 20K between gas and travel expenses. So now you're down to 80. Then
yeah,
whatever.
You're at 130. Yeah, you're at 130 in winnings if you're 10th place every tournament. 45.
Well, then plus the
entries.
Classic would be another 140. Or would
Well, it was
get
120, and then I gave another 10. It was 130.
Wait, I thought there was
For the
9 events.
Are there 9? I thought it was 8 because it was $5,000 per 8. That's 40. Yeah, it's 45. You're right. There are 9.
Okay.
I can do math. I swear. So yeah, 9 times 15. Yeah, I got you. 9 times 15. Geez. Yep, 145. So now you're looking at 100 after the
100 after your entry fees.
Yep.
Then you're looking at, honestly, probably like 15 to 20, I would say, total for travel expenses. Because gas in the truck, gas in the boat. And I know those elite guys, they're burning a ton of gas in the boat when they're out there scouting.
Oh, God.
3 days per event times 9 is 27 times. And I know how much money I burned in my gas on Champlain just fun fishing over 3 days. And it came to about $350. And I was only on the top third of the lake. And these guys are fishing lakes that they're covering more water than I am. So you're figuring they're probably doing $400 to $500 per tournament, if not more. Probably maybe even around almost 600. Well, we'll say even $500 per tournament on average. Times 9, that's $4,500 in gas just for your boat, just for tournaments. The practices and the official practice periods and the tournaments themselves. Never mind all the other scouting you're doing in between. So yeah, shit adds up fast. So let's say even just to be on the low side, 15,000. So now you're down to 85,000. And the tax man still needs his cut. So take a third off the top of that. So you're looking at a little under 30K. So you're looking at probably what, like 57-ish thousand take home. And that's okay. That's really not that bad. But
how many people are getting top 10s at every tournament?
But that's, exactly. Almost nobody.
Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody is.
Well, so that's why I could never do it.
Trey's got a few this year, but that's beside the point. He's kind of an outlier. But
you're going to finish essentially top 10 in Angler of the Year points at the end of the year.
Right.
Every year.
And we also live in the worst area to pursue. So unless you move down there and kind of centralize yourself to all the lakes that are potentially on schedules from year to year.
Right.
To minimize your driving and travel costs.
Yep.
You could make that an outlier as well. Because if you're single and you want to pursue this, you're going to move.
Right.
There's no way you can be a professional angler and live up here. Like, is Tyler Williams living up here?
Right now, no. Actually, I was about to bring that up. So yeah, he's got it made pretty good. Where he's literally he's just being a fishing bum. He's living the best life right now. His best life right now. Where dude's just traveling, living out of the back of his truck, and just fishing everywhere. And he just kind of bounces to different spots where he goes from next elite vent to elite vent. He left his home in the middle of winter, and he's not going to come back until the end of the year when it wraps up on the St. Lawrence, which is awesome.
And Tim's doing that too. I mean, Tim is fine. He's rooming with Will Davis Jr. I think for the year, right?
He's bouncing around from different people, but he does come home every so often. And I know he was home just the other day because he went out striper fishing with New Hampshire Basscaster guys.
Yep.
But I know he stays with an old friend of his, Lucarelli, who moved down to Kentucky. So
I went to elementary school with Joe.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No shit.
So we didn't see each other after, what he moved to New Hampshire, I think, when we went to middle school.
Yeah.
So I didn't see him from when we were 7th grade through whenever I started New Hampshire tournament fishing.
Yep.
When we finally ran into each other again, you're like, oh my God, blast me past.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But yeah, so like he's down in Kentucky. That's centrally located. So like that's his home base in between a lot of these tournaments.
Yeah. So he's, he has a great backing though. I think a lot of guys are supporting him right now to at least go, live his dream for a year. I believe he gets 2 years, doesn't he?
It's either 2 or 3. I actually think it's 3.
Maybe. I know it's not just one.
No, you're right.
On that.
It's definitely 2, but for some reason I remember reading that you get 3 years.
Maybe.
I have to go back and double check, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 years.
But, again, he's got to come up with that $45,000, next year again.
Yep.
So, I'm curious as to whether, he'll do it, especially with all the drama going on right now in the Bass Elites. Seriously. Right? I mean, we didn't even get onto that topic, and I don't even know if I want to right now. This might be another podcast down the road, but like the rookies are getting drugged through the coals. Everyone's pissed off at them. This information rule, guys going out guiding, guys going out, buying points, buying waypoints and, information when they actually could. There was no rule that said they couldn't.
Right. So
they went and got a leg up. Again, mentioned it was a gray area, a lot of podcasts, and there was that interaction between McKinney and Swindle that everybody was up in arms about.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that.
Oh, God. All right, you ready?
Yep.
So I forget what tournament it was. It was this year. Swindle noticed McKinney flying a no-wake zone.
Oh.
It was a bridge that isn't marked, but it was designated a no-wake area in all of the pre-information, tournament information.
Okay.
It was in the video. It was in the correspondence with all the anglers, et cetera, et cetera. So we saw it. People got pissed and said, oh, Swindle's a snitch. So Swindle got on social media and was like, this is for all you guys that think I'm like, this is what happened. I'm going to tell you, I don't care, right? I love that he did it.
Yep.
He's like, we signed something, the back of, some card or something that, or no, they signed a contract. I'm sorry. That says if they see something, they must say something or risk DQ themselves.
Yep.
So usually, the respect from, the people that have the experience and knowledge is go handle it man to man and let them have the opportunity to, call the tournament organization themselves to police themselves.
Right.
If that doesn't happen, then these guys are forced to write a formal complaint, spend, a few hours writing up a formal complaint paperwork and submitting it to Bass.
Yep.
Or else they risk DQ of their own weight. So I guess he went up to Trey after the tournament and was like, hey, listen, I saw you blow that no wake. It was a no wake. It was designated no wake from all the pre-tournament stuff. Are you gonna go police? You're gonna go talk to them first, or am I gonna have to? I don't want to have to do that, but I'm gonna have to if you don't go do that.
Yeah,
I'll give you the opportunity first. And apparently, McKinney's response, he went to shake his hand and he says, "Oh, well, good for you," and then walked away. So
whoa.
So now a lot of people are kind of on the fence about following this Trey McKinney. He seems like kind of a douche to me, to be honest with you. He's kind of a young, my shit don't stink kind of attitude to me when he's ever on live. And now I'm just, I hear rumors about a bunch of different things about what he's doing. And I think he's an entitled kid that needs to be put in his place, unfortunately. And I hate to say it because a lot of guys are backing him because, he's the youngest Elite Series angler and he's killing it. I don't care that he's killing it.
Fuck him.
Do it with fucking respect.
Yep, fuck him.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
He's a prick, he's a prick, man. I don't care. And you can't hide behind all this Jesus loving freak fucking bullshit either. And people that do that often, oh my God, dude. All right, I'm going to do this. And my wife's going to kill me, but it is what it is because I am so anti-religion for a number of reasons. And I swear to Christ, which is kind of funny I'm saying that, every person that I see that's like overly Jesus this and Jesus that and Jesus saves and I owe everything to Jesus are the biggest fucking piece of shit people out there, dude. You know, and they just use it to like justify their fucking behavior. And they
I'm gonna
try
pull
and
this
hide
content
behind
out. I'm gonna clip this out and put it on TikTok. Just this part.
it.
I don't mind that at all, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a belief that they have, and I don't know anything about it. They can do whatever they want with that, and they're generally incredibly nice people.
Well, they get people like this.
Ottifo is one of them. I don't know. I didn't know Trey McKinney was a Jesus freak.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But
Every fucking
Ottifo
post.
is one of them. But he does it with respect and honor.
Yeah.
Right? And he uses his faith for good.
Yep.
Like I've never really seen Trey McKinney aside from like, oh yeah, praise you, oh thank you Lord. You know, everybody says that when they catch a big fish, right?
Right.
It's the Bible Belt down there. You know, they're all like that. And I don't mind that at all. But you know, and again, this is kind of all rumors for McKinney. You know, I don't know him personally. I'm just hearing all this stuff and voicing an opinion over it.
Yeah.
Without knowing, you know, true facts. But I'm usually a pretty good judge of character. But you know, aside from that, yeah, again, you know, the rookies, it's just, you know, they're doing really well. I think this is the first year in a long time that the rookies are doing a lot better than some of these other guys. And,
Yeah.
You know, some of it's that information rule where they get out and got the right information, and they're sharing a lot of that information as well.
Yep.
Whether that's given them, you know, a big boost, it seems that way because of this points standings. But, you know, we'll see as we kind of get into forward-facing sonar section of the schedule, right?
Yeah.
Where we're coming into that big season. You know, it's kind of been both, you know, for the last few, you know, some couple pre-spawn tournaments, spawn tournaments. Hasn't really been a heavy post-spawn yet, right? Or
Right.
unless Murray was. But I think they were still catching beds on Murray.
I don't remember what happened for that
beds.
event because I'm pretty sure that event was when I was traveling for work, so I missed the entirety of it. Because Thursday, day one for that, I don't want to get into how busy I was for work, but it was balls to the walls. And then packing when I got home, ended up being up way later. And then I was on the road at 4 a.m. And dude, up at dark, home at dark until Monday night. So I missed the entirety of it. I haven't even caught up with Tim yet. And the next 2 months of my life don't look any better.
It was a rough tee.
Was it?
For him, yeah. He knows it. But again, so all right, we're coming up on 2.5. But I want to talk about the impact of all the information I've shown or we've talked about today.
Yeah.
Personally, impacting the aluminum fishing series.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, I thought, you know, I've had tournaments in multiple states, right? Southern states, Midwest states, you know, up here, those are the kind of the 3 regions I was focusing on. And I really downsized this year.
Yep.
And I'm loving the decision.
Good.
Because I am now focusing on creating a trail that is a closed circuit trail for guys that want to get in to qualify for like our elites and maybe a big bass tournament, an element cup. You know, I'm having those specialty tournaments where guys can get in and have a fun year while trying to qualify for other stuff. It's almost like its own little trail in this region. And I feel like I've toyed with the notion of trying to be, you know, Bassmaster team affiliate where, you know, to send a team to the Bassmaster regional for a chance to get the classic.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that sounds pretty cool. Right. I don't know if anybody would want to do that now.
Guarantee they would.
But just the whole drama aspect of what's been happening in the last 6 months has really, you know, made me realize that what I am doing is what's best for the aluminum fishing series right now.
Yep.
Right? Like, I don't need to deal with anybody down there. I want to create an avenue of inclusion up here that is kind of a smaller scale version of a professional trail.
Right.
You know, you have to qualify. You got to do all this stuff to qualify for, our elite midweek. You can fish the opens, and depending on how you do in the opens, you can either get, an invitation to the elites or an invitation to our spring Big Bass Classic, for some fun money. And I think, again, my hope is that if those opens become big enough that maybe I could be an avenue for someone to promote their brand up here. Right?
Yep.
So that's the idea for I'm not saying I'm a professional trail, but for a trail is to help people promote their fishing brand, fishing products, all while trying to create a community, which I believe I'm doing with all this aluminum, the aluminum fishing niche. And that's how all this drama has impacted me. For you, I want to get into just a little bit for a couple minutes on what your focus is this year in light of all the stuff we've talked about. Because I know you are actually doing a lot of bigger events in hopes of some qualifications yourself, correct?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Man, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah.
With a lot of things. And it all comes to my career and trying to make something happen here. It's been some good discussions, but it's also been a really tough year. And I've already missed a couple of really key things for me personally with fishing that I would love to have done.
Gotcha.
That I couldn't do. And I'm still going the wrong direction for concerns I've brought up. And it's supposed to be getting better. One thing did change, literally just the other day. That'll be effective this week, which would be helpful. It's really not helpful. It is and it isn't. So I may or may not have had quite a few talks with my wife about what the fuck I'm even doing anymore. Mm-hmm. And especially with the channel. And it's just getting, like, every year I keep thinking this and this and this will happen. And I try and make moves in my career to make other things happen. And then also trying to make moves to do tournaments. And I can't even think about anything else going on yet because I can't even get through my own shit, my own life, that for years I've been trying to get to a point where it's like, I finally have everything I've needed. I've got the time. I've got the money. I've got the vessel. My kids are of an age that I can get away for a couple of days to go chase a tournament. My wife won't, drive herself mad. Mm-hmm. And work just continues to get in the way. So I've already had to take, I was only going to do 6 tournaments this year. I had to take 2 of them off for work. Okay. And I may have to take 2 more off. Take 2 more off the calendar because instead of having more work removed from my calendar, my workload, I've had more added. Don't get me wrong. It's a damn good reason why it's getting added.
Yeah.
I'd like to know when it's my fucking turn. I don't know how else to put this, man. I've been busting my fucking ass.
Let me ask you this. What was your objective for fishing those big events?
Purely because I'm competitive to shit. Mm-hmm. And I love fishing tournaments because I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn. And that's been my attitude for several years now. And it has made me really enjoy and appreciate all of them, with the exception of the BFL last year. That one was tough more than anything because I didn't fish clean and I lost a couple of fish that I'm confident would have put me in the top 10. And then I ended up blowing my motor, which made me be late. So it was a double whammy. I would have had, for my first big tournament, I would have had a respectable finish even without fishing clean. Yeah. But I lost 2 pounds because I fucking blew my motor a half mile from check-in. So I was late. So that was just a tough pill to swallow. Like, finally took a chance, and that went as bad as it could have gone. Yeah. I would have been better off zeroing and still getting back with a motor intact. But nope. Blew my motor. But
all right, so with that tournament though, was it purely, and I don't want to say it was money based, but did you go into that event thinking you could qualify for something else?
Nope. Nope. I didn't even give a shit about the money. Like, don't get me wrong, winning first place would have been awesome for the check that would have come with it. No, it was just a test about myself. I really don't give a shit about the money. I make plenty of money in my job. So for me, it was just, it literally is just that competitive aspect. Like, I just want to be as good of an angler as I can. Mm-hmm. And I've proven it dozens of times that I can go to almost any body of water and figure it out and have at least a good day. It's rare that I can't go pick apart a body of water and not have at least a good day. Yep. So what's next? Well, now I want to try and do that on the tournament side. And I've done quite a few tournaments over the years, but I haven't been able to fish in a club because it's too damn hard with my kids were younger, but now that they're older, it's like I could have chased a club, but screw it. It's the same investment. And actually, in my opinion, it's a little cheaper to go chase 4 big tournaments, big money tournaments, than it is to fish 12 club level tournaments.
Correct.
It's just easier time-wise, too. I'm gone for 4 long weekends instead of 12 weekends every Sunday. I got to stick to the schedule.
Yeah.
So that was all my objective was, man. Like, okay, I've been able to put it together. I'm out there fun fishing. Can I put it together against 130 plus other boats on a big body of water? 1 day shootout? Like, let's figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're touching on exactly why I changed my trail.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this opportunity of dedicated opens.
Yeah.
Where guys just want to go out for a weekend and have fun and see if they can, win a couple bucks and compete, with these other aluminum guys.
Yep.
The whole 9, 10, 11 tournaments for a club commitment was brutal. Some guys, they can commit. And,
right.
Good for them. But you'll never get 100% commitment for that many events. And I just didn't want to do that anymore.
No.
It was too much. So I'm like, dude, look, I saw all this. People want to go away to a dedicated event, an open.
Yeah.
And they want to have fun just doing that one event and not have to, schedule an entire summer of weekends not knowing if he can even make it.
Right, exactly.
So, and I'll tell you what, from a sponsor point of view, getting sponsors for one event is way easier than getting a sponsor for an entire season.
Oh yeah, I bet.
It was incredible. Like, it was almost backwards in my mind to think, because you get a sponsorship for 9 events, you get promotion on all those 9 events, but no, it's much easier for those sponsors to give you, product donations for one specific open.
Yep.
And it makes it so much better. It opened up my eyes to a whole new world.
Yeah, dude.
So
I'm glad it's working out for you.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it didn't work out on the Connecticut River for me. I came in 12th, but it was only my second time on that section. But we had a great event. It was a fun event. Everybody was within one big fish of the money.
Nice.
That's how close it was. So everybody caught fish, which was awesome.
That's awesome.
But anyways, all right, we have gone 2.5 hours. We didn't touch on a bunch of stuff I wanted to. So, if we want to get together and do this again, I'd love to.
Anytime.
I think, I love your opinion. I think you're knowledgeable in this industry. And, I think you're a good dude too. You got a good brand behind you, good knowledge, educational, and you can put some fish in the boat there.
Thanks, man. I try my best.
Listen, all right. So for everybody listening too, Sean, shout out your socials and everything to my few followers on Spotify.
Yeah,
go right ahead.
So it's Real Northern Bass on everything, and real spelt like the fishing reel. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, in that order of how active I am. TikTok, a little behind, but YouTube, I'm pretty consistent with the regular uploads, not as well as I'd like to be. But you know what? Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we do our own live stream, Real Northern Bass Talk, and topics widely all over the place. But for the most part, they're pretty educational. We try and work in quite a few interviews with just various people, depending upon the topic. And more importantly, one of the more fun things we do is open topic night. Because, you do end up like 5 or 6 episodes in a row where it's like one specific topic. People have a bunch of questions that otherwise they can't ask. So we try and open up topic night, which is always popular because then literally anybody can ask anything they want. And it's great. It makes for some really interesting conversations too. But that's the gist of it. Again, Real Northern Bass on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. That's pretty much all you can find us. If some other places, but not active on there anymore. So that's the gist of it.
I love it. And, spoiler alert, we're trying, I don't know what's going to happen. We're trying to do maybe some brand challenges.
Yeah.
Some brand tournaments where, AFS, Real Northern Bass, a couple other local brands come together just for some fun, YouTube content. So we're hoping to involve some other local sticks in the area. So, hopefully we'll get some content down. I don't know how much we'll do. We're kind of strapped for time, but I definitely want to get that done with you.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, with that said, we're going to roll the music. Sean, I appreciate you, brother. And,
Thank you for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Go get some sleep, and we'll talk soon. See you guys.
Something I noticed about fishing, it never works out so well with the bait.
Come on, you could say it's okay, they know.
Metal is stronger than glass.
Tell them I'm going fishing.